Chapter 2369. Bastard. Little brother Lin actually died in my territory. How am I going to explain this to my family? While Night Sorrow was searching for Shangguan Lin's spatial treasure, a divine soul lamp in the seaside city lord's mansion was extinguished. The city lord Shangguan Yun's face turned cold as he instructed a black shadow, phantom shadow. Take brother Lin's divine soul lamp and go find the murderer. Yes. Phantom took the divine soul lamp and disappeared like a ghost. Using the divine soul lamp to track down the location of a disciple who had just died was a common method in the realm of the gods. A few days later, Phantom, who was an upper-level feather god, rushed to the scene of the incident with 3 middle-level feather gods, but the valley was empty. A taboo attribute appeared. The murderer is most likely a feather god cultivator with a taboo attribute. They didn't find anyone, but Phantom managed to find some clues from the remnants of the battle. When Phantom returned to the seaside city lord's mansion to report, Night Sorrow was drinking tea with his wife and children on an uninhabited island. For safety reasons, he left the valley with his family not long after killing Shangguan Lin. This island was more than 1,000,000 kilometers away from Seaside City. There were only a few low-level monsters on the island, so it was very suitable for cultivation. Night Sorrow used the formation map he had just obtained to set up a formation that would be difficult for feather gods to break through with brute force. He also used 2 divine-level crystals to set up a teleportation formation. If someone tried to break through the formation again, his family could use the crystals to activate the teleportation formation and leave. I came back this time to distribute cultivation resources to everyone. I know it's hard for everyone to live like this. However, the realm of the gods is too complicated. I don't want anything to happen to any of you. Night Sorrow sat on a bamboo chair and took a sip of tea. He continued, whoever breaks through to the feather god realm first can go out and explore. Otherwise, they won't be able to protect themselves. Husband, what's the situation in the realm of the gods? Are there many experts? Datura asked. She had suffered a lot recently, so she wanted to become stronger quickly. As for Shangguan Lin, she didn't want to talk about it at all. The realm of the gods is very big. We're currently in a barren land near the sea. But in one of the cities, there are hundreds and thousands of deity realm cultivators. After explaining the general situation of the god world and the cultivation levels, Night Sorrow said, the other thing is that I am preparing to go to a god monarch's cave to look for opportunities. It was unknown how many years he would be gone. But before I leave, I will bring back some cultivation resources. I hope you can all become gods as soon as possible. After the recent setbacks, everyone's determination to become a god has reached its peak. In addition, the cultivation environment in the realm of the gods is so good, and there's also the acceleration of time. I believe that it won't be long before the Yi clan's first divinity expert other than you will be born. Sikong Chuyu, who was brewing tea, said. She really hoped that someone in the Yi clan would stand up and help Night Sorrow. Father, Xiao Ke and I should be able to become deities very soon, Yi Lingxi said confidently. Yi Lingxi and Yi Xiaoke were born later than the rest of the Yi clan. Their talent was outstanding, and their cultivation speed was one of the best among the Yi clan. Good. I really hope that you can be independent soon. Holing up on a deserted island is not something the Yi clan should do. Sooner or later, we will establish our own power, kill that Ling Yun, and bring back Aunt Fei. Wu Lingfei's capture had always been a knot in Night Sorrow's heart. Father, we will not disappoint you. Night Sorrow's children, daughter-in-law, and son-in-law said in unison. You all have some tea. I will go to the spatial artifact to visit grandfather and the rest. Entering the spatial artifact left for everyone, Night Sorrow saw that Yi Linghuan, Lin Piaomiao, and Yi Xiaolua's faces were very pale. They should be suffering from bone-piercing pain. Night Sorrow asked with heartache, how do you feel? Not bad. In the spatial artifact, I should be able to last for another 30 to 40 years. Lin Piaomiao said honestly. What? Only 30 to 40 years. Hearing this, Night Sorrow's heart skipped a beat. 30 to 40 years was a short time in the world of cultivators. Perhaps this time, when he went to the cave abode to search for opportunities, it would be more than 30 to 40 years. Knight Sorrow, who was originally looking forward to finding a suitable pill formula or treasure in the cave abode, immediately changed his mind. He secretly thought that even if he went to the god Jinyuan's cave abode, he had to find a pill or treasure that could heal the three of them, no matter the price. Grandfather, Sister Xian, Xiaoluo, don't worry. I will definitely heal you. Unable to bear to stay any longer, Knight Sorrow left the spatial artifact after a few words. After having a simple meal with his family members, Knight Sorrow used the remaining materials to refine a divine artifact. Time was tight, so Knight Sorrow rushed back to High Bay City with the newly refined 5 Thunder Tribulations defensive robe. Big brother Knight Sorrow. You are finally back. You were gone and we couldn't complete the orders we accepted. The customers have come to cause trouble several times. As soon as Knight Sorrow returned to the stall, Neopodian said with a worried face. It's okay. I will start refining now. Why isn't Brother Xianjizi here? After receiving the orders and the spatial artifact filled with materials from Neopodian, Knight Sorrow asked as he sorted out the materials for refining pills and equipment. Before the old liar left, he said that a big shot asked him to do a divination, but he didn't say who it was. In this High Bay City, there are only 5 god-level big shots. It should be one of them, Neopodian guessed. There were a total of 5 god-level powerhouses in High Bay City. City Lord Shangguanyun, Mercenary Guild President Long Xian, Wuji Pavilion Master Murong Yuan, Umbra Hall Master Ling Xiaoya, and Rogue Cultivator Mingi. Xianjizi was indeed asked by one of them. At this time, he was helping Shangguanyun divine the murderer of Shangguanlin in the City Lord Mansion. Damn it! What is this? Originally, Xianjizi was quite excited when City Lord Shangguanyun asked him to do a divination. However, he used the compass to calculate that the person who killed Shangguanlin had great karma with the compass. The only person who has great karma with my compass is Brother Knight Sorrow. It seems that Shangguanlin was killed by him. What should I do? Xianjizi, who kept making divination gestures, was quite conflicted. He had been in High Bay City for tens of thousands of years, but he didn't make a name for himself. Now, he had just made friends with Knight Sorrow, who had a bright future, and he encountered such a thing. Xianjizi, did you divine something? Although Xianjizi looked calm, City Lord Shangguanyun felt that his vitality was a little unstable. It seems. Xianjizi pinched his fingers, frowning as he pondered. In his heart, he was thinking about how to choose. Shangguanyun had promised that if he could divine the murderer's identity, he would reward him with a Green Dragon Origin Building Pill. The Green Dragon Origin Building Pill could directly raise a Feather God's level by 1 grade. Xianjizi was a middle-level Feather God. After taking it, he could be promoted to an upper-level Feather God, saving him countless years of cultivation. How does it seem? Shangguanyun asked. He had been in a high position for a long time, and his strength was outstanding. A simple sentence from him could intimidate people. Chapter 2370. What's going on? Hurry up and say it. Don't stutter. Shangguanyun questioned sullenly. The aura of a superior was even more oppressive. It scared Xianjizi until his body trembled somewhat. He hurriedly said, yes, yes. I can't divine it. After struggling in his heart for a long time, Xianjizi finally decided to stand on Knight Sorrow's side. He thought to himself, I'm really standing on the edge of a cliff this time. If this matter is exposed one day, the consequences will be unimaginable. City Lord Shangguanyun's strength was unfathomable. It was completely not what a Feather God realm could contend with. It brought him tremendous pressure. Are you deliberately toying with me? Xianjizi looked like he was deliberately mystifying. In the end, he did not say the reason. Shangguanyun raised his eyebrows and was about to fly into a rage. City Lord, calm your anger. It's just that I didn't divine it, afraid that my lord would blame me. I don't know how to say it. Xian Jizi was frightened until he hurriedly bowed. This Shengguan Yun was an existence that could kill him with one slap. Get lost. Shengguan Yun snorted coldly and ordered Xian Jizi to retreat. He said to the void behind him, pay attention to the movements of all cultivators in the city. If anyone with taboo attributes appears, immediately report to me. Yes. A response came from the void. Sigh. On the way back to the Sea Sky Grand Bazaar, Xian Jizi sighed. Returning to the front of the stall, seeing Night Sorrow refining artifacts, Xian Jizi was a little relieved. He thought to himself, younger brother Night Sorrow is like nothing happened. Why should I be afraid of wolves and tigers? After this incident, Xian Jizi admired Night Sorrow's calm and composed temperament even more. He felt that he was bound to achieve something. To be able to befriend such a person before he rose up was a blessing. But the time they knew was too short. Xian Jizi naturally would not completely trust Night Sorrow. It was impossible to mention Shengguan Lin's matter, afraid of being silenced. Returning to the stall, Xian Jizi said, younger brother Night Sorrow, a few days ago when you weren't around, a female cultivator came to look for you. Said that there was a formation to be broken. You weren't around, so she left the address. Said that when you come back, you can directly go to the residence. The reward will be very generous. Oh. Could it be a romantic encounter? Hearing this, Niu Padian laughed. I can't go for now. With so many orders for pills and equipment, how could he have the time to go out? A man can't stand without trust. You have to complete the order before you think about anything else. With nearly a year's worth of experience in the god realm, Night Sorrow's artificing skills had become much more proficient and efficient. As he spoke, a feather god-grade spear was produced. Good gun. Grandmaster Yi forged 3 lightning tribulation feathers, and the quality is so high. When the spear came out, a black-robed female cultivator, who had been waiting for a long time, cupped her fists to Night Sorrow and thanked him. Then, she took the spear and prepared to transcend the tribulation. This black-robed female cultivator's strength was not very strong, but her aura was not weak at all. She held the long spear and fought against the heavenly tribulation without flinching at all. She was quite a woman who was not inferior to men. No. At this moment, Night Sorrow spoke up to stop her. Miss, please don't be anxious. Judging from your aura, you should have just broken through to the lower-level feather god realm. If you recklessly transcend the tribulation with the long spear, I'm afraid you won't be able to withstand 3 lightning tribulations. Night Sorrow's eyes were outstanding. He knew that this female cultivator was not very strong and judged that it would be difficult for her to transcend the lightning tribulations. If she forcefully transcended the lightning tribulations, she would probably end up dead. Thank you for your reminder, Grandmaster Yi. However, Ji Hong's family's divine vein has been seized, and her parents are being held hostage. Her life is at stake. Although that traitor is also a lower-level feather god like Ji Hong, he is much stronger. Ji Hong has to rely on these 3 lightning tribulation feathers to be able to fight, so the lightning tribulations must be transcended. Ji Hong explained and prepared to soar into the sky. Wait. Ji Hong. You are eager to save people and your filial piety is commendable, but if you forcefully transcend the tribulation, you will be like a moth flying into a flame. Ji Hong's experience reminded Night Sorrow of Wu Lingfei. He immediately felt pity for her and handed over the 5 lightning tribulations defensive robe that he had refined on the island, saying, this is a god-level defensive robe with 5 lightning tribulation feathers. It can help you block part of the lightning tribulations. Put it on. This robe was prepared by Night Sorrow for the trip to the Zhenyuan Divine Lord's cave residence. It fused with the void attribute and was called the void robe. When Ji Hong put it on, it could block most of the lightning tribulations. This. Thank you so much, Master Knight. Ji Hong is extremely grateful. If I can save my parents, I will definitely return to serve Master Knight. Ji Hong, who received the void robe, understood the value of the god-level defensive robe with 5 lightning tribulation feathers. She immediately knelt down to thank Yi Shiwen. Night Sorrow, who had guessed this, stopped Ji Hong, who was already half kneeling, and said, I am only helping you because I need to follow my Tao heart. There is no need to repay me. Quickly transcend the tribulation and save your parents. Yes. Ji Hong was eager to save her parents. She knew that now was not the time to be polite. She responded and soared into the sky with her spear, facing the lightning tribulation. Even with the void robe's help, Ji Hong's lightning tribulation was still frightening. Her entire body was almost shattered. Fortunately, she managed to transcend the lightning tribulation safely. Master Knight, thank you. Ji Hong will never forget you. After transcending the lightning tribulation, Ji Hong immediately returned the void robe. She then swallowed a few pills that emitted dense mist and stumbled out of the crowd. What a strange woman. Night Sorrow's original intention was to give the void robe to Ji Hong for revenge. However, Ji Hong returned it before leaving. He smiled slightly. Brother Night Sorrow, you are truly a compassionate philanthropist. Xian Jizi, who had witnessed everything, said. He transmitted his voice, but as the saying goes, don't show off your wealth. Now, everyone in the market knows that you have a defensive robe with 5 lightning tribulation feathers. Who knows, some people might have other ideas. I understand that a man's wealth is his own ruin. However, Night Sorrow's cultivation is to have a clear Tao heart. If Ji Hong dies because of the spear I refined, my Tao heart will be unstable if I don't save her despite having the ability to do so. As for trouble, I'll just deal with it as it comes. Night Sorrow smiled indifferently. Although Lin Yun said those words casually, they touched Xian Jizi's heart. He judged that Night Sorrow was definitely not a sinister and cunning person. He transmitted his voice, Brother Night Sorrow, I won't hide it from you. I'm going to the city lord's manor today to help him divine who killed Shengguan Lin. Then, he explained in detail how the city lord, Shengguan Yun, sought him out for a divination. Thank you for the reminder. Xian Jizi's words shocked Night Sorrow. If Shengguan Yun divined that he was the one who killed Shengguan Lin, the consequences would be unimaginable. In the next session, no one could divine Night Sorrow's situation, which made him neglect this path. In fact, Night Sorrow had a taboo attribute. Only cultivators with a much higher cultivation than him could divine his situation. For example, Shengguan Yun had found more than 10 divine feather diviners to divine Shengguan Lin's matter, but none of them could divine anything. Xian Jizi had been able to divine some clues because his compass Dharma artifact had been refined by Yishang. Chapter 2371. There were many onlookers in the market, and most of them were discussing what had just happened, especially Night Sorrow's 5 Tribulation Lightning Feather God Magic Robe. A magic robe of this level was not something an ordinary rogue cultivator could possess, and many people were envious of it. Situlai's words were like a loud bell, intimidating everyone, telling them that this was the person High God Styx wanted to meet. Thank you, Brother Situ, for helping Night Sorrow out. Night Sorrow knew that Situlai was trying to get on his good side, so he thanked him and said, let me pack up a bit, and then we'll leave. Night Sorrow sorted out the materials for refining pills and tools, and said a few words to Xian Jizi and Niu Patian before following Situlai to meet one of the strongest experts in High Bay City, High God Styx. The mansion of a God Realm expert is indeed impressive. Styx was a rogue cultivator, but he had also formed his own force. His mansion was located in the northwest corner of High Bay City, and it occupied a large area, 100 times larger than the island Night Sorrow had arranged for his clansmen. There were many buildings in it, and it was like a city of its own. Master Night Sorrow, please wait for a moment, I'll go and inform him. After entering the mansion, Situlai and Night Sorrow exchanged pleasantries, and then prepared to inform Styx. There were some areas in the mansion that no one was allowed to enter without Styx's permission. At this time, a dignified and loud voice came from the depths of the mansion, Situlai, bring him to the meeting room. Yes. Hearing Mingi's summons, Situlai cupped his hands and bowed towards the distance. He made an inviting gesture and said, Grandmaster Yishang, let's go. I wonder what level high god this Styx is, but he is indeed much stronger than the feather god. Knight Sorrow replied and walked forward, but in his heart, he was praising this high god Styx. It seemed like a simple call, but it was actually a display of strength. According to Knight Sorrow's judgment, he was far from being Styx's opponent, and it was unknown if he could even escape with his life. He was secretly on guard. After all, he had to be wary of others. You are Master Knight Sorrow, who is proficient in alchemy, artifact forging, and array formations. Knight Sorrow followed Situ Lai into a majestic hall. Sitting in the center of the hall, Mingi asked with narrowed eyes. 16 cultivators of the divine feather realm sat on both sides of the Nether River. Only one of them was a mid-level divine feather, while the rest were all high-level divine feather. In addition to these people, there was also a thin upper-level feather god standing behind Mingi. He was Mingzi Qingming, Mingi's advisor. High god of the river Styx. Knight Sorrow was indeed proficient in alchemy, artifact forging, and array formations, but he was not proficient in any of them. I don't deserve the title of master. Mingi sat and asked, but he didn't give them a seat. There was a kind of arrogance in him. Knight Sorrow was a little unhappy. He was invited here, not volunteered to join anyone. Why are you putting on airs in front of me? He stood where he was and replied in a tone that was neither servile nor overbearing. He didn't do anything. How dare you? How dare you be so arrogant when Lord Mingi asks you a question? Who gave you the guts? Do you even know etiquette? A cultivator in a yellow robe sitting in the seat immediately slammed the table and stood up. He was called Wenren Hao, an upper-level divine feather. He was one of the top 10 generals under Mingi. For a long time, cultivators of the divine feather realm would naturally show respect and humility when they saw Mingi. Knight Sorrow's attitude made him feel uncomfortable. He thought to himself, you're just a low-level divine feather. What are you showing off for? Ha! What do you mean? Knight Sorrow replied coldly. He was like this. If people respected him, he would respect them 10 times over. Otherwise, no matter how strong you were, he wouldn't spoil you. Do you know that you have to be respectful when facing the strong? You didn't even greet the strong when they asked you a question. Are you provoking Lord Mingi? Wenren Hao said angrily. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow smiled and said, sorry. I respect the heavens and the earth, but I also respect the strong. But when others ask questions, I don't have the habit of bowing to answer. This is also why I became a wandering cultivator. Knight Sorrow made his attitude clear when he said that. I'm not anyone's subordinate. Don't talk nonsense with me. I don't know what's good for me. Please allow Wenren Hao to fight with you. Wenren Hao had a fiery temper. Nonsense. You're a guest. Wenren Hao, are you slapping me in the face by treating your guest like this? Mingi, who was observing Knight Sorrow, scolded Wenren Hao and asked, do you think I'm being rude? As a high god, Mingi had a temperament of harmony with his body and Tao. He had a great pressure on divine feather realm cultivators. Before Knight Sorrow could reply, Mingi continued, I don't think you're being rude. In the divine realm, the strong are always respected. My fist is bigger than yours. That's the hard truth. If you want to win my respect, you have to show the corresponding ability. With your strength as a lower feather god, it's naturally not enough. Not only Mingi, but everyone else present did not take Yi Shang's cultivation seriously. Yi Shang was happy to do so. He said, Lord Mingi, do you want to test my alchemy, crafting, and matrices? Knight Sorrow, your refining ability has already spread in High Bay City. There's no need to test it. But if you only know how to refine, it won't be of much help to the matter of entering the divine Lord Jinyuan's residence. You're only a lower feather god. Your battle strength won't be of much help to this matter. You still need to prove that you're qualified to be valued in Pill Dao or Array Dao. Mingi didn't continue speaking. Qing Qingzi, who was standing behind him, explained. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow wasn't surprised. He asked, then how do I prove it? Very simple. In the Divine Lord Jinyuan's residence or tomb, there's a kind of soul-devouring evil wind. It blows once every 3 months. This soul-devouring evil wind is very scary. You have to enter a specific area and set up a defensive array to avoid it. The array test is to set up a defensive array. If the defensive array you set up can withstand the attack of an upper feather god, you've passed the test. Qing Qingzi explained, then continued, as for Pill Dao, because the environment of the Divine Lord Jinyuan's residence is special, you have to refine a few special divine pills. If you can refine one, you've passed the test. But if the array test is passed, there's no need to proceed with Pill Dao. When does the test begin? Night Sorrow asked. He could easily set up a defensive array. The defensive array he set up on the island could withstand the attack of an upper feather god. It can begin now. Everyone, please follow me. My lord, after you. Qing Qingzi invited Mingi to go first. He led the group and followed behind. Not long after, they arrived at an even more spacious hall. At this moment, there were dozens of feather god cultivators in the hall. They were busy refining pills or setting up arrays. Why aren't there any array deciphers? Logically speaking, there would usually be many arrays set up in a residence or tomb. Breaking the arrays was a must. But Qing Qingzi didn't mention it just now. There was something fishy about this. Without waiting for Night Sorrow to think more, Qing Qingzi handed over a spatial Dharma artifact and said, "These are divine-level materials for setting up arrays. Master Knight, you can choose from them." All right. After receiving the spatial Dharma artifact, Night Sorrow used his divine soul power to investigate. Chapter 2372. If I fail, I will have to compensate for the materials. Mingi was the strongest person that Night Sorrow had come into contact with recently. Not only did he want to go to the east cave of the god Jinyuan, but he also wanted to prove his worth by asking Yi Linghuan, Lin Piaomiao, and Yi Xiaoluo about their injuries. According to Lin Piaomiao, they only had 30 to 40 years left to live. 30 to 40 years was a long time for mortals, but it was very short for cultivators. Sometimes, one enlightenment would take tens of millions of years. Therefore, Night Sorrow didn't delay. He used his divine soul to take out the materials he needed from his spatial artifact. He found a 10 feet square stone slab in the hall and prepared to set up the god-level defensive array. Wait. If you fail, you will only have to compensate for the materials. That's too easy for you. Before Night Sorrow could do anything, Wen Renhao said. Then what do you mean? Night Sorrow, who was planning how to set up the array, asked unhappily. He thought to himself, I'm not strong enough. Any random person in the realm of the gods dares to find fault with me. It's very simple. If you fail, you will have to kneel down and apologize to my lord to atone for your offense. Wen Renhao, who was still brooding over Night Sorrow's attitude, said unforgivingly. What if I succeed? Night Sorrow was invited. He could have rejected any of the other party's conditions. At most, he could have just left. However, even Buddhas had their temper. This Wen Renhao kept causing trouble and he didn't want to spoil him anymore. So what if he was the subordinate of the high god Mingi? You succeed. With your cultivation, how can you succeed? Do you think that the formation can be set up at will? Wen Renhao's face was filled with arrogance and disdain. Okay. Since you think I can't succeed, let's make a bet. How about we make a bet? Yi Shang said word by word. He knew that the other party was looking down on his cultivation, so he felt a sense of superiority. Bet? Sure. How do you want to bet? Wen Renhao, who didn't think Night Sorrow had a chance to set up the god-level defensive array, became interested when he heard the bet. The rest of the people, including Mingi, did not speak. They were just watching the show. After pondering for a moment, Night Sorrow said, If I fail, I will bow 3 times and kowtow 9 times to Lord Mingi. If I succeed, you will kowtow to me and admit your mistake. Do you dare? Why wouldn't I? It's a pity that your bet is too small. Since it's a gamble, let's make it big. Wenren Hao, however, was not satisfied with the bet. He said provocatively, I heard that you earned a large amount of divine-level materials in less than a year of refining weapons and pills. Do you dare to add another 100,000 divine crystals to the original bet? Good. However, you're a high-level feather god, yet you're only asking for 100,000 divine crystals. Isn't that a little too lacking in spirit? Knight Sorrow sneered and continued, materials from the divine realm are the most worthless. Why don't we just use divine artifacts as the stakes? Hee hee. Adding a divine artifact would be easy. But I've heard that you can only forge a 3-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifact, while my offensive and defensive artifacts are both 4-feathered. What are you going to bet with? Wenren Hao, who was provoked, retorted. What do you think this is? Knight Sorrow took out a 5-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifact, the Void Robe, and said with a smile, I don't have a 4-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifact. However, I'm lucky to have a 5-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifact robe. As everyone knows, a divine artifact with a higher lightning tribulation is worth 10 times more. As long as you take out 10 4-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifacts, we'll bet. This. After confirming that Knight Sorrow really took out a 5-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifact robe, Wenren Hao was dumbfounded. His face turned red and he couldn't say anything. All along, he had a sense of superiority. However, Knight Sorrow only took out a robe and it crushed all 3 4-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifacts that he had. In High Bay City, most low-level feather gods would use a 1-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifact. Mid-level feather gods would use 2 or 3-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifacts. High-level feather gods would use 4-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifacts and 5-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifacts. Only feather gods with a strong background could have a 5-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifact. As for 6-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifacts, it was even rarer. Wenren Hao didn't expect Knight Sorrow, a low-level feather god, to take out a 5-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifact. After a while, he said loudly, if you win, not only will my 3 4-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifacts belong to you, but all the divine crystals, books and materials in my spatial artifact will also belong to you. Wenren Hao's meaning was clear. If he lost, he would hand over all his possessions. Okay. I swear to the heavens. Everyone here, please be a witness. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow smiled. What he lacked the most now was books. Wenren Hao, as a rogue cultivator, must have a god-level cultivation method and a god-level secret art to be able to cultivate to the level of an upper-level feather god. Fine. Wenren Hao didn't dawdle. He raised his hand and made a heavenly oath. I, Knight Sorrow, swear that if I can't complete the god-level defense array today. Knight Sorrow was very confident about this bet. After making the oath without any delay, Knight Sorrow glanced at Mingyi and started to set up the array. At this time, Qing Mingzi, who had been silent all this time, transmitted a message to Mingyi, My lord, who do you think will win this bet? Even I am a little tempted by this bet. TSK, a 5-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifact defensive robe is rare. I didn't expect Knight Sorrow to have a 5-feathered Thunder Tribulation divine artifact as a low-level feather god. Whether it was made for him or not, it is not simple. But I think Wenren Hao will win this bet. Mingyi, who was sitting on a wooden chair, tasted the tea that the servant had just brewed. My lord, you think Knight Sorrow can't withstand the suppression of this place? Qing Mingzi asked. Exactly. This place is built to imitate Jin Yuan Immortal's cave dwelling. It suppresses the soul severely. Usually, it doesn't matter. But when refining elixirs, forging weapons and setting up arrays, the soul suppression will become heavier and heavier. With Knight Sorrow's cultivation, even if his soul power is outstanding, it will be difficult for him to succeed. Mingyi said his own judgment. It turned out that this hall had such a special place. No one said these words to Knight Sorrow. It was a little too much. I should be able to set it up soon. The defensive array that needed to be set up today was only 1% of the area of the defensive array on the island. Knight Sorrow, who was setting up the array bit by bit, thought to himself. Setting up a defensive array that an upper-level feather god could not break with brute force was very difficult for a low-level feather god. But for Knight Sorrow's soul power, it was not a problem at all. How can it be so easy? If it were so easy, how could there only be 3 people to set it up now? After Yi Shang made his move, Wen Renhao's face was filled with complacency as he laughed wildly. At this time, Knight Sorrow suddenly felt that his soul power was suppressed. This suppression was not fatal, but he had to split a part of his soul to resist it. It was very demanding on his soul power. So this is what setting up an array here is like. Chapter 2373. Bastards. Do you think that this level of suppression can stop me from setting up the array successfully? You must be dreaming. Knight Sorrow was enraged. He cursed these shameless people in his heart. At this moment, he became more focused. Knight Sorrow's divine soul was different from ordinary people's after he cultivated the universal Tao Tome. Later on, he strengthened his divine soul. His divine soul was much stronger than ordinary cultivators. These disturbances were equivalent to fighting against the divine soul of an inferior feather god while setting up the array. It was nothing to him. Ha, you arrogant and ignorant brat. I'd like to see what a low-level feather god like you can do. I'm looking forward to the 5 Thunder Tribulations Divine Feather God's defensive robe. Wen Renhao, who knew that there was something special about the hall, shouted with a smile. Wen Renhao had been working for Mingyi for many years and had never obtained a divine artifact with 5 Thunder Tribulations divine feathers. Today, he had the chance to get one. One could imagine how happy he was. Not only are you suppressing my divine soul, but you're also harassing me with words. Wen Renhao, you're shameless. How dare you call yourself an upper feather god? But what do you think these things can do to me? Ordinary cultivators were afraid of being disturbed when they were refining elixirs or weapons. However, Knight Sorrow was different. He usually refined elixirs in the noisy market and his success rate was 100%. He was not afraid of being disturbed by words. You have some skills. But if you think that suppression is so easy, you're wrong. This hall is built to imitate the abode of the divine Lord Jinyuan. The greater suppression is coming. Wen Renhao continued to shout when he saw that Yi Shang's speed of setting up the formation didn't slow down at all. He wanted to put more pressure on Yi Shang. Ha! If these underhanded methods had worked, then I wouldn't be the Knight Sorrow I am today. Ever since Bamboo Garden Village, he had experienced countless storms, hardships, and baptisms of blood, yet he had not fallen. Naturally, Knight Sorrow would not be affected by his opponent's little trick. He continued to set up the formation. Kid! It's too early for you to be happy. You're still too young. Wen Renhao said with a smile. He still looked as if victory was in his hands. The suppression of the divine soul was increasing. Had it reached the level where he needed to fight against a mid-level feather god? In other words, if he wanted to continue setting up the defensive array, he would have to have a soul that was stronger than that of a mid-level feather god. If it doesn't increase, I can fight it. Knight Sorrow's soul power was far superior to that of other cultivators of the same level. His soul power was stronger than that of the average mid-level feather gods. However, even he felt immense pressure when setting up the formation under this kind of soul suppression. Ha! Was he going to die soon? Give up while it's still early. You will never succeed. Wen Renhao continued to provoke him. As an upper-level feather god, his qualities were indeed mediocre. Wen Renhao, shut your mouth. Mingyi, who couldn't stand it any longer, scolded and said to Qingqingzi, who was beside him, this Knight Sorrow really has some ability. Knight Sorrow's divine sense is truly astonishing. He's only a lower-level divine feather, but he's already stronger than an average mid-level divine feather. He truly is a genius when it comes to alchemy, refining, and setting up formations. However, his method of setting up the formation is a little too crude. I think he doesn't have a master. Qing Qingzi was proficient in the art of formations and secretly analyzed. Nurture him well. He's really a rare talent. However, he's proud and arrogant. He's not easy to control. Otherwise, I could have taken him in as a disciple, Mingyi, who was observing the situation, said. Indeed. From what I see, this Knight Sorrow's personality is too unyielding. I'm afraid he'll suffer in the future, Qing Mingzi commented. Yes, with his personality, he won't be able to do well in the divine realm. Mingyi nodded in agreement. The soul suppression is still increasing. It already needs to suppress the soul power of an upper-level feather god. As time passed, Knight Sorrow felt that the soul suppression was getting stronger and stronger. For an average low-level feather god, if they were suppressed by such a powerful soul, it would be extremely difficult for them to even stand up and walk, let alone set up a formation. If they weren't careful, there might even be a huge problem. Looks like I have to borrow some external help. After all, I can't lose this bet. If he lost the bet, he would have to kneel and kowtow to Mingyi. That was something that Knight Sorrow definitely couldn't accept. After pondering for a while, he activated the void robe before reaching his limit. This was just in case. The void robe was a divine weapon with 5 thunder calamity feathers. It also had a certain level of defense against soul suppression. With this, the pressure on Knight Sorrow's body instantly lessened. His movements, which were originally slightly sluggish, once again recovered to the normal speed of setting up a formation. Bastard! Even this can't suppress you. Where did you come from, monster? At this moment, even Wenren Hao, who made a bet with Knight Sorrow, was a little shocked. He thought to himself, such a powerful soul power, and he's just a low-level feather god? Wasn't this a little too much nonsense? This Knight Sorrow is not bad. He can actually resist the soul suppression of an upper-level feather god and set up a formation normally. Bringing him along for the trip to the Zhenyuan Divine Lord's cave will definitely be useful, Mingyi thought to himself. The disciples of the Divine Lord and the Divine King are only a so-so, right? Qing Mingzi secretly praised. Knight Sorrow's endurance had already far exceeded his expectations. Buzz! Suddenly, a muffled sound came from the main hall, as if some formation had been activated. Then, Knight Sorrow felt the soul suppression become even stronger. Has he reached the half-step upper divine realm? No wonder Wenren Hao was so determined to get it. If it were any other low-level feather god, there would be no chance of success at all. Knight Sorrow thought to himself. His movements became slower and slower. Because he was too distracted in resisting the soul suppression, if he wasn't careful, his soul might even be damaged. Ha! Let's see how you're going to die from the soul suppression of a half-step upper divine realm. You're just a low-level feather god, what can you do? Wenren Hao, who knew what had just happened, was too excited. He even forgot Mingyi's warning and shouted again. This bet should end now. Everyone, including Mingyi and Qing Mingzi, thought that this bet would end with Knight Sorrow's glorious defeat. After all, this was an unfair bet. How could a low-level feather god suppress the soul of a half-step upper divine realm and set up a divine defense formation at the same time? This was simply a fantasy story. Do you think this is the end? Seeing Wenren Hao lose his composure, the others had already stood up and were ready to accept the result of the bet. Knight Sorrow sneered, looks like I have to take out some trump cards. Since all of you are sticking your faces out, I have to fight. Chapter 2374. Power of Merit. Rise. Knight Sorrow, who originally wanted to keep a low profile and not use any trump cards, did not hesitate and used the power of merit to protect his body. Although his soul was strong and not inferior to the average upper-level feather god cultivator, he could not resist the soul suppression of a half-step high god, and he did not want to lose this bet. The power of merit surrounded him like a golden mist, and the impact on his soul was greatly reduced. Knight Sorrow was able to continue setting up the formation. Everyone present was shocked. Ah! He can still resist it. Divine level power of merit. This kid has so much merit, he must have done great deeds in a certain world. Mingi was not sure if there were any cultivators with divine level power of merit in the god world. Anyway, he had never seen one before. He looked at Qing Qingzi in surprise. Sir. This Yi Chang isn't ordinary, Qing Mingzi transmitted his voice secretly. Cultivators who possess the power of virtue and have such a profound foundation are all people with great fortune. How could they be simple? Mingi replied and continued, this kind of person has a limitless future, but he cannot be subdued. We can give him some help. However, I must get the item in the tomb of the Zhenyuan Divine Lord. If there is a conflict in the cave because of this, how should we deal with it? Qing Qingzi asked Mingi's attitude. That item will determine whether I can advance further. Those who block me will die. Mingi said coldly without hesitation. Qing Qingzi was stunned. Why don't we not bring him in? A person of merit has providence, and I'm afraid he will take away the opportunity. Why not? I have to bring him. With providence, this trip will be easier to succeed. As long as that item is successfully taken out, even if it is his, I can take it back. Mingi's meaning was clear. If Knight Sorrow could get the item he wanted, he would kill him and take the treasure. This. Alright. Qing Qingzi felt that this was inappropriate, but he knew Mingi's character and did not dare to persuade him. It's done. Right at this moment, Yi Sorrow suddenly shouted loudly and said, the defensive grand formation has been completed. Please test it to see if it passes. Is there even a need to ask? He's definitely not qualified. With your pathetic strength, you should be thankful that you were able to survive the suppression of a half-step high god. You want to form a formation? You're dreaming. Before the others could react, Wenren Hao, who had a flushed face, attacked madly at the first possible moment. He couldn't afford to lose because losing meant losing everything he possessed. Without resources and divine artifacts, he couldn't even go to the Divine Lord Zhenyuan's abode. Sky-burning dragon capturing hands. Wenren Hao shouted. He condensed his divine yuan qi in his hand and executed a secret technique. Boom! An energy finger descended from the sky like an unfurled palm and heavily smashed into the defensive formation that Yi Shang had set up. Its momentum was vast and shocking. However, the defensive formation did not budge at all. It was not damaged at all. The power of this absolute art is really not small. The defensive formation was not affected at all. Knight Sorrow smiled, knowing that he had succeeded. The dragon-burning hand reminded him of the sky-covering hand he had learned when he first joined the Medicine Valley. He thought to himself, could this be fate? It's not damaged at all. This is impossible. Impossible. The defensive formation that Knight Sorrow had set up was not affected at all. Wenren Hao was dumbfounded and muttered in a daze. How could he be willing to lose all his wealth? The oath to the heavenly Tao could not be violated. You won't die if you don't seek it. Looking at the dumbfounded Wenren Hao, Knight Sorrow had no sympathy. If Wenren Hao hadn't targeted him repeatedly, he wouldn't have ended up like this. No, this doesn't count. Attacking with the power of divine artifacts doesn't count as breaking the formation with the formation. Suddenly, Wenren Hao's eyes lit up. He took out 3 heavenly tribulation divine artifacts, the heaven-punishing war hammer, and directed the power of thunder to smash heavily on the defensive barrier of the formation. How is this possible? Wenren Hao, who had attacked continuously, was completely dumbfounded. He had really tried his best, but he couldn't shake the formation at all. Master Knight, you're good. Although your method of setting up the formation is unique, this formation is definitely not something that an upper-level feather god can shake with his strength alone. Qing Qingzi complimented. Knight Sorrow, who knew that his method of setting up the formation was crude and couldn't be compared to the masters of the realm of the gods, said humbly, actually, this formation is just a trick. Cultivators who are proficient in the realm of gods can break it easily. However, it was extremely difficult to destroy it with brute force alone. I think it would be best to use it to resist the soul-devouring evil wind in the cave. I. Even Mingzi, the think tank of Mingi, spoke up. When Ren Hao knew that he had really lost this time. What about me? You are a man. You should accept your loss. Hand over all the items that we agreed on. And kowtow to Master Knight Sorrow and admit your mistake. Although Mingzi wasn't the strongest under Mingi, he was always the second in command. Yes. Yes. When Ren Hao, who knew that he couldn't deny it, looked at Knight Sorrow with hatred and said fiercely, "Take these for now. One day, I will take them back with my own hands." Then, he handed over the spatial artifact and kowtowed to Knight Sorrow 3 times. As an upper-level feather god, he actually kowtowed to someone. When Ren Hao's heart was filled with hatred. His body couldn't help but tremble. "If you want to come, I will accept it." Knight Sorrow, who took the spatial artifact, used his soul power to erase Wen Ren Hao's imprint and took the spatial artifact for his own use. "Wen Ren Hao, don't be an eyesore here. Go back to your own residence." After the farce ended, Mingi scolded Wen Ren Hao and said with a smile, "Master Knight Sorrow's methods are amazing. He deserves everyone's respect. Now, I, Mingi, formally invite Master Knight Sorrow to join us in the cave." "Lord Mingi, what do you need Master Knight Sorrow to do?" It was a great opportunity to enter a Divine Lord-level cave. Knight Sorrow naturally wouldn't refuse, but he definitely wouldn't agree without knowing the reason. Very simple. After Master Knight Sorrow enters the cave, cooperate with my son and daughter, Ming Ju, and Ming Yu. As for the opportunity, only the worthy will get it. Mingi said and continued, "With Master Knight Sorrow joining us, the success rate of this trip will increase greatly. My son will come out in about 3 years. In these 3 years, Master Knight Sorrow can make some preparations. Before that, if you have any requests, feel free to tell me. I will try my best to fulfill them." Son of Mingi, Ming Ju, was an upper-level feather god. When he came out of seclusion, he might reach the half-step high god level. Although Knight Sorrow had the power of merit protecting him, he was only a lower-level feather god. He wasn't worried that the thing he wanted would fall into someone else's hands. Even if it fell into someone else's hands, there was still a high god waiting for him outside the cave. "I won't hide it from High God Mingi." 3 of Knight Sorrow's family members had their dantians destroyed by High God. Now, they are suffering from the pain of being corroded by God power. They probably only have 30 years left. Chapter 2375. Oh. Which exalted god injured him? Mingi's expression changed. He didn't want to offend any exalted god because of Knight Sorrow. Mingi was a peak lower exalted god and had been stuck in this realm for countless years. He could do whatever he wanted in front of feather god cultivators, but he wasn't strong among exalted gods. He had to be careful. Knight Sorrow doesn't know his name, but it's definitely not one of the exalted gods from High Bay City. There shouldn't be any karma involved. Yi Shang, who knew what Mingi was thinking, explained. He didn't mention Ling Yun's name, afraid that Mingi would be scared out of his wits. "Oh. So that's how it is." After a moment of silence, Mingi said, "Sigh, I've never heard of this before. I don't know how to treat them. I'm really sorry. I heard that Master Knight Sorrow doesn't have a place to stay in High Bay City. Why don't I give you a mansion as a reward for this trip? In fact, if he wanted to help, even if he couldn't completely cure Yi Linghuan, Lin Piaomiao, and Yi Xiaoluo, he could at least extend their lives by 100 years. However, he was afraid of karma. Alright. Thank you, exalted god Mingi. Knight Sorrow will do his best to help the children of exalted god Jinyuan. Knight Sorrow was not a brat who had just entered the Jianghu, so he could naturally analyze Mingi's mentality. After saying that, he prepared to leave. There were still some unfinished orders waiting for him to refine. Originally, Yishan had wanted to try refining the god-tier pills that the young man had mentioned after he finished setting up the formation. However, he wasn't in the mood to do so now. After finishing these orders, Knight Sorrow would do his best to find a way to treat his family's dantians. Master Knight Sorrow, please wait. I noticed that Wenrenhao was filled with hatred. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, I'll arrange a personal bodyguard for you. Mingyi called out an ordinary-looking short cultivator and said, in these 3 years, do your best to ensure Grandmaster Yishang's safety. If anything goes wrong, I'll cut off your head. Yes. The short cultivator bowed and replied. His name was Ming Qi, and he was one of Mingyi's subordinates. How pretentious. I'm afraid he was sent to spy on me. Wenrenhao was Mingyi's subordinate. As long as Mingyi gave the order, he would not dare to attack Knight Sorrow. Knowing what Wenrenhao meant, Knight Sorrow felt conflicted. But since he was already here, Knight Sorrow didn't say much. Then, together with Ming 7, he took the mansion contract that Mingyi had mentioned and signed a new Heavenly Dao contract. There was no reason for him not to take what he deserved. Hee, why are the two of you packing up? Knight Sorrow asked with a smile when he saw that Xian Jizi and Niu Patian hadn't left their stalls yet. Oh, Knight Sorrow bro, you're back. We're just worried about your safety. Seeing that Knight Sorrow had returned, Xian Jizi said happily. Mingyi's reputation in Haibei City had always been bad, so how could he not be worried? Who is this? Seeing Ming 7 beside Knight Sorrow, Niu Patian asked curiously. Oh. This is Ming 7, an upper-level feather god under Mingyi's high god. He will be in charge of protecting me for the next 3 years. Knight Sorrow introduced Ming 7, then looked at Xian Jizi and Niu Patian. These two are my friends, Xian Jizi and Niu Patian. An upper-level feather god. Lord Ming 7, nice to meet you. Xian Jizi cupped his hands. Lord Ming 7, nice to meet you. Niu Patian also greeted with a smile. The other party was an upper-level feather god expert, so the two of them were very polite. Ming Qi, who had a dark expression, snorted and muttered, birds of a feather really flock together. What kind of cultivation level trash are they? What did you say? Hearing this, Knight Sorrow's expression turned cold. Whatever I say, you have to accept it. Knight Sorrow, listen well. In my eyes, you are just an ant. Protecting an ant like you is a waste of this lord's time. In these 3 years, you better behave yourself. Otherwise, you will suffer some physical pain. Ming 7 was unhappy that Mingyi had arranged for him to come here, so he vented his anger on Knight Sorrow. If you are unhappy, you can talk to Mingyi. Why are you acting all high and mighty in front of me? I also told you that if you don't want to stay here, then scram. No one here welcomes you. Family and friends were what Knight Sorrow cared about the most. Ming 7's insults to Xian Jizi and Niu Patian didn't work. These two were the first friends he had made in the God realm, and they had good natures. Xian Jizi didn't betray him in front of City Lord Shengguanyun. This was rare. Bastard. You think you can do whatever you want because you are good at setting up formations? Now, I will let you understand that an upper-level feather god's dignity is not to be offended. Ming 7, who was already angry, was ready to attack. Hee. You don't know the difference between life and death. Do you want to attack in the city for no reason? Aren't you afraid that the City Lord Mansion will kill you? Knight Sorrow laughed in disdain. He might not be able to defeat an upper-level feather god, but it shouldn't be a problem for him to escape. Moreover, Knight Sorrow didn't believe that Ming 7 would dare to attack in broad daylight. You! Ming 7's face was ashen, and he waved his hand. Come, let's not talk about this idiot. Let's drink. Originally, Knight Sorrow wanted to complete all the orders first and then discuss the matter of the mansion with Xian Jizi and Niu Patian. However, he took out a jar of wine from his spatial Dharma artifact and drank with the two of them, leaving Ming Qi to the side. Today's matter, let's settle the score. Ming 7 snorted coldly and thought, you think you can stay in the city forever? At the latest, when we enter the Zhenyuan Divine Monarch's cave, I will be able to kill you. Scram. Go wherever you want. Don't be an eyesore here. Since they had completely fallen out, Night Sorrow didn't give him any face. Ming 7, who felt that he had lost interest, left with a cold expression. Ha, good wine, refreshing. Xian Jizi didn't dare to shout at Ming 7 directly, so he pretended to shout with the wine. This wine can really make one feel carefree. Niu Padian also felt quite comfortable. Night Sorrow actually scolded an upper-level feather god for the two of them. This made him feel very touched. After drinking a few mouthfuls of wine, Niu Potion's face suddenly lit up and he said, I think I'm about to break through. The god-destroying tribulation is coming. Oh. Congratulations, congratulations. Xian Jizi knew that Niu Padian had been stuck at the half-step divine realm for countless years. He didn't expect that he would face the god-destroying tribulation under such circumstances. Congratulations, Brother Padian. Night Sorrow was also very happy. In the divine realm, it was indeed very difficult to survive without a divine realm cultivation. He was truly happy for Niu Padian. I still have to thank Big Brother Night Sorrow for speaking your mind and allowing me to suddenly have an epiphany. Brothers, please continue drinking. I will return after I pass the god-destroying tribulation. Since the Sea-Sky Bazaar was in a state of chaos, Niu Padian naturally couldn't pass the god-destroying tribulation here. He also didn't have a mansion in High Bay City, so he prepared to find a secluded valley outside the city to pass the tribulation. Chapter 2376. Without the suppression of the rules of heaven, it was much easier to pass the god-destroying tribulation in the realm of the gods. After passing the god-destroying tribulation, one's strength would be relatively weaker. This was one of the reasons why Night Sorrow could fight against a mid-level feather god when he had just entered the divine feather realm. However, passing the god-destroying tribulation in the realm of the gods was relatively easy. There was also the risk of losing one's life. Passing the tribulation alone in the valley outside the city could easily lead to special situations. For example, meeting some cultivators with evil intentions or being seen by some powerful demonic beasts could lead to failure. Now that Night Sorrow had received a mansion from Mingi, he was prepared to let Niu Padian pass the tribulation in the mansion. This was the safest way. Where can we pass the tribulation if we don't leave the city? Niu Padian asked doubtfully. Like Xian Jizi, he was poor. He usually stayed at the Sea and Sky Bazaar and did not go anywhere. Mingi gave me a mansion. We are going to take it over now, Night Sorrow explained. Is there such a good thing? Hearing this, Xian Jizi and Niu Padian were puzzled. Don't think too much. Mingi gave me a mansion because I am worth it. Night Sorrow said. Then, he said, pack up and follow me. Okay. Xian Jizi and Niu Padian answered at the same time. However, they sighed in their hearts. Night Sorrow was indeed not an ordinary person. It was not easy to get these things from Mingi, who had a bad reputation. The mansion that Mingi gave them was not in Mingi's mansion. It was in a quiet place in the south of the city. This place was close to the Mercenary Union and was a certain distance away from the Sea and Sky Bazaar. Night Sorrow took 2 hours to arrive with the two of them. This is the place. We are here. According to the heavenly contract, Night Sorrow brought Xian Jizi and Niu Padian to a mansion that was dozens of miles wide. Night Sorrow used his divine soul to sense the mansion. He found that there were mountains and water in the mansion. The spiritual energy was rich and there were also some demonic beasts. The demonic beasts were not of high grades. They were basically in the king realm. However, most of them were outstanding. They were either cute or handsome. As for the pavilions, they were all made of wood and had an ancient feel to them. This mansion is really not bad. Night Sorrow, who had finished his exploration, was very satisfied with this place. He took the lead and walked towards the door. This place is called South Hwai Alley. I've heard that the people who live here are all ruthless people. It's very difficult to buy a mansion here with divine crystals. Xian Jizi praised the mansion that would soon belong to Night Sorrow. As an old swindler who mingled in the Jianghu, Xian Jizi had been mingling in Hai Bay City for who knows how many years, but he didn't have a mansion of his own. Night Sorrow had just arrived, and he had already obtained such a good mansion. He was envious from the bottom of his heart. We haven't even entered the door and we can already feel such dense divine origin qi. Cultivating here should be twice the result with half the effort. Niu Padian also praised. He. In the future, this mansion will belong to us. When we are tired from running our stalls, we will return to the mansion to eat meat and drink wine. Night Sorrow said with a smile and continued, after I take over, I will arrange a place for the two of you to stay. We're all brothers, so naturally, we'll share our blessings. That won't do. That won't do. We didn't do anything. Brother Night Sorrow, on the other hand, helped me and Padian take good care of us. This is already a great favor. How can we take your things? Xian Jizi hurriedly refused. In the past, he had done all kinds of things, but when he was serious, he cared a lot about his reputation. Brother, you don't have to be so polite. In the future, we will be in the same boat, so don't be so calculative. Besides, such a big mansion, I can't use it all by myself. Xian Jizi refused, and Niu Padian also wanted to speak. Night Sorrow hurriedly said. Who is making a racket here? Do you believe that I won't cripple you? Motherf *Ker, don't you know where you are? At this moment, the door of the mansion opened, and a lower-level Divine Feather Realm cultivator walked out. This was a burly man with a curly beard. He looked very fierce, and his mouth was dirty. Who is it? Of course it's the owner of this place. Being scolded for no reason, Night Sorrow replied coldly. The owner of this place. Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Everyone knows that this is the mansion of the High God of the River Styx. Who are you to behave so atrociously here? The bearded man said disdainfully. The Divine General's mansion on the River Styx gave it to me. This is the Heavenly Tao contract. Night Sorrow didn't waste any words with this person in front of him. He directly took out the Heavenly Tao contract that he had drawn up. This is fake. If you know what's good for you, scram. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. The bearded man didn't even look at them and said unreasonably. This mansion belongs to me. Why should I leave? The ones who should leave are you. At this moment, Night Sorrow saw Ming Qi slowly walk over with a smug look on his face. Clearly, this bearded man had been arranged by him. You have to leave whether you want to or not. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. As the bearded man spoke, 3 more people arrived. One was a mid-level Divine Feather Realm cultivator, while the other 2 were lower-level Divine Feather Realm cultivators. This. Big Brother Night Sorrow, why don't we leave first? I feel that the God-slaying tribulation is about to arrive. Niu Padian, who was about to face his tribulation, said softly. No need to leave. This mansion belongs to us. No one can stop us today. Niu Potion's God-slaying tribulation was about to arrive. It was too late to find a place to undergo it now. Night Sorrow angrily took out his blood-killing vanquishing evil spear and pointed it at the 4 cultivators blocking the entrance. I advise you to leave now. Don't interfere with my brother's tribulation. Otherwise, I, Night Sorrow, will show you no mercy today. Don't lose your life because of irrelevant people fanning the flames. Night Sorrow cultivated a virtuous body and wasn't a bloodthirsty person. However, he couldn't tolerate being bullied. Bah! What a big mouth. Why don't you take a look at your own cultivation? The only mid-level Divine Feather Realm cultivator didn't look carefully at Night Sorrow's blood-killing vanquishing evil spear, so he didn't realize that it was a divine weapon with 5 thunder tribulation feathers. That's right. We have a mid-level Divine Feather Realm cultivator and 3 lower-level Divine Feather Realm cultivators. Why would we be afraid of you, a lower-level Divine Feather Realm cultivators? The bearded man laughed. He knew that Mingi had given this mansion to Night Sorrow, but Mingxi had given them benefits to make things difficult for him. You bearded idiot, who are you calling an ant? Hearing this, Xian Jizi, who cultivated a special secret technique to hide his strength, was so angry that his beard almost stood up. I'm talking about you, a half-step Divine Realm cultivator. The bearded man said with disdain. I think you're blind. You won't even know how you'll die in the future. Chapter 2377. You motherf asterisk cur, believe it or not, I will smash your signboard and crush your balls. The bearded man didn't see Xian Jizi's true strength and continued to taunt him. You're overestimating yourself. Xian Jizi cursed in his heart and sent a voice transmission to Niu Padian. Xiao Niu, how long until your god-destroying tribulation comes? I estimate that they will arrive within 2 days. Niu Padian replied according to his intuition. 2 days. That's enough time for me to flip out. Before Xian Jizi made his move, he asked Night Sorrow cautiously, does this mansion really belong to you, brother? That's right. It belongs to us. The heavenly contract is still there. It can't be faked. Night Sorrow showed the signed heavenly contract. The heavenly contract was compatible with heaven and earth. It was definitely real. Then, we won't violate the city rules by attacking random people here, right? Xian Jizi continued to ask. He was so cautious that it made one's hair stand on end. This bunch of people trespassed into our mansion. We can just kill them. Night Sorrow could tell that Xian Jizi wanted to attack. He knew that with his strength, dealing with the bearded man shouldn't be a problem. Furthermore, Minghe wasn't afraid of him. He was ready to go all out. All right. You're good at refining weapons, but that doesn't mean you're good at fighting. Xiao Niu isn't strong enough. Today, you'll see how I deal with them. They won't be able to take over our mansion. After communicating with Yi Shang once more, Xian Jizi raised his fortune-telling banner and muttered a few words. Then, he threw the fortune-telling banner in his hand towards the bearded man. Ha! You overestimate yourself. You're just a half-step immortal. How dare you attack your grandfather? The bearded man, who didn't expect Xian Jizi to attack him, laughed and grabbed at the fortune-telling banner with his bare hands. In his opinion, since Xian Jizi wasn't an immortal, his attack was no threat at all. Boom! Just as the bearded man's hand came in contact with the fortune-telling banner, a bolt of lightning shot out from the banner. This thunderbolt was in the shape of a green lightning bolt, like a green dragon formed by lightning. It struck the bearded man's hand and then spread throughout his body. What's going on? As soon as the bearded man's hand touched the lightning, he felt that something was wrong. Before he could react, he found that his entire body was numb from the lightning, and he couldn't move at all. Let's see who will crush whose balls. Xian Jizi, who had long since predicted this, cursed and shouted, "Eat my door extermination palm." Ouch! Although the bearded man was a low-level feather god with an astonishingly strong body, he was unable to withstand the attack of a mid-level feather god. He was in so much pain that tears came out of his eyes. To ordinary people, the body of a lesser feather god was unshakable, but to an intermediate feather god, it was nothing. This almost caused the bearded man's Dao heart to collapse. Everyone present felt a chill in their crotch, and their faces couldn't help but twitch. Motherf asterisk cur. Do you still dare to call me an ant? Today, I'll kill you, you bastard. Xian Jizi didn't stop after his successful attack. He silently recited a spell, and the 9 immortal compass with 3 lightning tribulation feathers that Night Sorrow had helped him to refine flew out. You don't know what's good for you, you still dare to attack. The opponent's mid-level feather god shouted, and took out a long sword that glowed with cold light, which collided with the 9 immortal compass. With a loud clanging sound, the two of them ended up in a tie. I didn't expect you to be a mid-level feather god. Han Qianlu was clearly surprised. He hadn't seen through Xian Jizi's cultivation level just now. That's why I said you're all blind. Let's fight another 300 rounds. Xian Jizi was in high spirits after crippling a low-level feather god in a moment. This was the first time in many years that he had fought to his heart's content in Haibei City. Let's fight, I'm not afraid of you. Han Qianlu was a veteran mid-level feather god. He wasn't far from becoming an upper-level feather god, so he was very confident in himself. He shouted to the two people behind him, one of you, pin down Night Sorrow, and the other, deal with that half-step divine realm trash and cripple his cultivation. Yes. The two low-level feather gods behind Han Qianlu responded and began to divide the work. Ning Ke, I'll pin down this low-level feather god. You go cripple that half-step divine realm ant, and then come back to help me. The short and thin cultivator looked a little like Ming Qi. He was Ming 12, Ming Qi's younger brother. He was ready to attack Night Sorrow. Although he wasn't sure how many lightning tribulations Night Sorrow's blood-Kirin evil-slaying spear had survived, he felt that its grade must be good. Night Sorrow shouldn't be easy to deal with. Brother Xian Jizi is right. You're all blind. The coffin is about to hit the ground, and you still don't know it. Hateful people always had a pitiful side to them. Even if two mid-level feather gods attacked him at the same time, Night Sorrow wouldn't be afraid, let alone two low-level feather gods. Shameless boasting. I think you won't cry until you see the coffin. Ming 12 felt the disdain in Night Sorrow's words. He shouted, Ning Ke, hurry up and cripple that half-step divine realm ant. I'll deal with him. You still have the time to care about this. I advise you to mind your own business. Night Sorrow smiled coldly. He raised the blood-Kirin evil-slaying spear and attacked Ming 12's face. Space-time destruction cut. Night Sorrow directly used the skill he had evolved from the blood-Kirin evil-slaying spear. This spear contained space-time attributes. It passed through time and space, and was more powerful than the death cut. Ming 12 was sent flying before he could react. Bastard! Ning Ke, who had wanted to deal with Niu Patian, was afraid that Ming 12 would be killed, so he hurried back to help. He took out two Thunder Tribulation's divine weapons, the flowing light amber scissors, and fiercely cut at Night Sorrow. That's all you got. This time, Night Sorrow was like the bearded man from before. He directly used his bare fists to attack. You're courting death. Ning Ke was delighted when he saw Night Sorrow's action. Clang! There was a sound of collision. The flowing light amber scissors was sent flying by Night Sorrow's punch. His fist didn't slow down and hit Ning Ke's chest. There was the sound of bones breaking. Ning Ke was sent flying. His divine body was nothing in front of Night Sorrow. Damn it! Night Sorrow is just a low-level feather god, but he has such strength. He's probably not inferior to a mid-level feather god. I can only blame myself for underestimating him. Ming Qi, who was watching from afar, said viciously in his heart. He wanted to take revenge on Night Sorrow, but his brother was crippled. This made Ming Qi even angrier. However, Mingyi asked him to protect Night Sorrow. He didn't dare to attack openly and could only be anxious. Chapter 2378. I didn't expect Brother Xian Jizi's cultivation to be so solid. You're much stronger than the average middle-level feather god. You should be able to contend with some of the weaker high-level feather gods. Night Sorrow quickly made the three low-level feather gods lose their ability to resist and stole their spatial instruments. He didn't want to kill them. He didn't think they deserved to die. As he watched the battle between Xian Jizi and Han Qianlu, Night Sorrow found that although they were both middle-level feather gods, their divine essence and divine soul were not much different from high-level feather gods. This battle was infinitely close to a battle between high-level feather gods. Old faker! How dare you sneak attack me? Yi Shan was on guard against Ming Qi, afraid that he would launch a sneak attack. He was watching with great interest when Han Qianlu suddenly shouted. It turned out that Han Qianlu's eyes had been temporarily blinded by some powder, and he couldn't control his divine soul. He stood there motionless. Ha, all's fair in war. Xian Jizi laughed dryly and attacked Han Qianlu's chest with a secret technique. Han Qianlu was sent flying into someone else's mansion. Ha ha ha. Brother Night Sorrow, I didn't disappoint you. I took care of that fool. Xian Jizi, who had used the 1,000 poison flowers blinding powder to barely win the battle, had the appearance of a carefree expert. Still so shameless. Niu Padian said disdainfully. Cheating, swindling, sneaking attacks, anything. What do you know? Everything is a skill. This is a strategy, Xian Jizi said proudly. Everyone had their own fighting habits. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. He smiled and said, "Come, let's go into the mansion." Ming Qi had been watching but didn't make a move. This made Night Sorrow despise him. Who threw this trash in? Get out! Before the three of them could move, they heard a shrewish voice. Then, Han Qianlu was thrown out of a mansion and smashed to the ground. Hey! Why does this voice sound familiar? Xian Jizi muttered. Who's fighting here? Just as Xian Jizi was about to say something, an explosive roar suddenly rang out in the sky. It turned out to be Hai Bei City's law enforcement team patrolling the area. When they heard the sounds of fighting, they immediately rushed over. The leader was a male cultivator wearing a white robe. He had an imposing appearance, but his face was as cold as iron. He was the first to land on the ground and asked. Reporting to Captain Murong Bai, Ming Qi saw it with his own eyes. These people acted violently in front of everyone and injured 4 of Lord Mingyi's subordinates for no reason. Ming Qi, who was not far away, hurriedly went forward to complain. Actually, with his strength, if he had just joined the battle, it would have been hard to say what would have happened. Murong Bai was one of the 5 law enforcement captains in Hai Bei City. He was also an expert who was half a step away from the upper god realm. Plus, he always had a cold expression on his face. When he said this, Ming Qi was a little nervous. Is that true? Murong Bai's face darkened as he looked at Night Sorrow and the others. Of course not. These 4 people broke into the vicinity of my mansion for no reason. My friends and I attacked them out of self-defense. Night Sorrow replied calmly. The consequences of attacking someone in Hai Bei City for no reason were very serious. Nonsense. The place where they attacked was clearly outside the mansion. Lord Murong, you can check the traces of the battle. Ming Qi raised his voice. Is what he said true? Murong Bai looked at Night Sorrow. That's true, Night Sorrow admitted. Lord Murong, the governor's rule is that if you attack someone in the city for no reason, you will be killed without mercy. Ming Qi reminded Night Sorrow after hearing his words. Do I need you to remind me? Murong Bai glared at Ming Qi. Ming Qi suddenly felt as if he had been drenched in ice and snow. He felt cold all over and did not dare to say another word. What do you have to say? If you can't give a reasonable explanation, come with me to the law enforcement team. Murong Bai asked Night Sorrow. My lord, please calm down. Xian Jizi and Niu Patian were scared out of their wits. The law enforcement team was a place where cultivators trembled in fear. I didn't ask you. Murong Bai said coldly. Of course I have something to say. We attacked outside the mansion because they blocked the entrance and did not allow us to return. Night Sorrow handed over a mirror image crystal with a smile and said, this is a video recording of the entire battle. Also, this is the heavenly contract of my mansion. The heavenly contract clearly states that not only does the mansion belong to me, but the area within 100 miles of the mansion is also my private territory. This is enough to prove who is right and who is wrong. It is indeed so. After watching the video, Murong Bai looked coldly at Ming Qi and the others and ordered, this person is indiscriminately framing innocent people. Take him back and punish him according to the governor's law. The other 4 are causing trouble in the city for no reason. Take them back as well. Yes. Hearing the order, the law enforcement team immediately restrained Ming Qi and the others. My lord, please spare my life. For the sake of Master Ming He, please let me go this time. Ming Qi cried and begged for mercy. He knew how cruel the law enforcement team was. If he walked around the law enforcement team, he would be skinned alive. Are you using Ming He to threaten me? Hearing Ming Qi's words, Murong Bai's face darkened and he asked coldly. No. No. My lord, please don't be angry, please don't be angry. Ming Qi was like a thief who had been caught stealing in the marketplace. Take him away. Murong Bai ordered his men to take Ming Qi away. He looked back at Night Sorrow and said, from now on, we will be neighbors. Your divine weapon is not bad, but your cultivation is too weak. Neighbors? Does the law enforcement team live nearby too? Before Night Sorrow could react, Murong Bai's body flashed and disappeared into the sky. This is an expert. His strength is definitely above mine. A half-step high god is indeed strong. I'm afraid I'm no match for him. Murong Bai gave Night Sorrow a lot of pressure. Night Sorrow understood that Ming He would also send a half-step high god to the cave residence of the Zhenyuan Divine Lord. This was a test for him. Looks like I have to increase my strength within 3 years. Otherwise, I'll be in big trouble in the cave residence of the Zhenyuan Divine Lord. After today's events, Yi Shang understood why Ming He's reputation wasn't good. His subordinates didn't have good characters. As the saying goes, if the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. It was obvious that Ming He was not a good person. If not for the opportunity to enter the cave residence of the Zhenyuan Divine Lord, he would not want to have anything to do with such a person. The annoying fly has been chased away. Shall we go in and take a look? Xian Jizi asked as Night Sorrow was slightly stunned. All right. From today onwards, we have a place to stay in Hai Bei City. Night Sorrow said as he invited Xian Jizi and Niu Padian into the mansion. Night Sorrow did not trust Ming He's character. He dismissed all the servants in the mansion, leaving only some red-crowned cranes, koi carps and other spiritual beasts. Why don't we drink to celebrate? Night Sorrow arranged rooms for the 2 of them. Niu Padian, who had his own room, was in a good mood. The god-destroying tribulation would arrive in about 2 days. He wanted to drink to his heart's content before the tribulation arrived. All right. I'm happy today. I'll go to the Drunken Immortal restaurant to buy some dishes. Xian Jizi, who had finally found a place to stay in Hai Bei City after so many years, was also very happy. All right. When you come back, we'll drink until we're drunk. Night Sorrow was also excited. After Xian Jizi left, Night Sorrow had nothing to do. He took out the blood Qilin evil-slaying spear and practiced his spear skills in the courtyard. Chapter 2379. The spear was an overlord's weapon. The tip of the spear was sharp enough to kill anything it touched. The body of the spear was heavy enough to kill anything it touched. Spear moves didn't need to be flashy. Night Sorrow's every move was simple and unadorned. Although they looked ordinary, they were extremely powerful. After reaching the divine realm and comprehending new laws, Night Sorrow's understanding of the Tao of the spear had deepened. Today's practice made him only 1 step away from creating a divine spear technique. Phew. It's a pity, but the road to success is strewn with setbacks. The rewards will be even greater after I succeed. Night Sorrow wasn't in a hurry. He put away his spear and calmed himself down. Xian Jizi hadn't returned yet, so he started preaching to Niu Padian. In comparison, Niu Potion's comprehension was average. Night Sorrow didn't mention too much about the Tao. He mainly talked about the god-destroying tribulation and the key points of becoming a true god. Thank you, Big Brother Night Sorrow. This was what Niu Padian needed the most. He was sincerely grateful. Don't call me Big Brother in the future. It feels awkward. Brother Padian, How many years have you been cultivating? Do you still have family members? A cultivator's body was like a tree with growth rings. Their age couldn't be faked and could be seen through a secret technique. However, Night Sorrow didn't want to pry into other people's privacy. It was indeed awkward to be called Big Brother by a cultivator who was definitely much older than him. I haven't been cultivating for too long. I'm only 20,000 years away from an era. As for my family, sigh. Neo Potion's face turned ugly when he said this. What? Is there a secret behind this? Night Sorrow was good at reading people's expressions. He immediately asked. He didn't care about Neo Potion's 100 billion years of age anymore. Sigh. My tribe used to be very prosperous and lived in a secluded mountain forest in a blessed land. However, that blessed land was discovered by an invincible divine monarch named Xiaoyu. He defeated my tribe's divine monarch ancestor and enslaved all of my tribe members to serve him for eternity. I escaped from a teleportation formation by chance and became a wandering cultivator. It has been 8 million years since then. Neopodian sighed. The ancient wild bull tribe is not a tribe that likes to fight. After I became a rogue cultivator, I could barely get by, and my cultivation improved very slowly. I want to save my clansmen, but I'm completely powerless. Neopodian wasn't someone as talented as Night Sorrow, nor did he have Xian Jizi's crooked ways. How could he see any hope when facing an enemy who had become an invincible divine emperor 8 million years ago? It was already not easy for him to persevere in his cultivation as long as his Tao heart remained intact. The invincible divine monarch from 8 million years ago might have already become the divine king. This matter is indeed not easy to resolve. Hearing Neo Potion's words, Night Sorrow sighed in his heart. Thinking about Wu Lingfei, he thought to himself that the God realm was indeed a place of natural selection. Without strength, one could only be bullied. If he wanted to protect his family, he had to become a pinnacle expert. After pondering for a moment, Night Sorrow suddenly said, Brother Patian, don't worry. One day, I'll help you rescue your family. Since Night Sorrow had recognized him as a friend, he naturally wouldn't turn a blind eye. That wasn't his Tao. Ah. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Neopodian was momentarily stunned. His opponent was an invincible divine monarch 8 million years ago. Neopodian felt that it was extremely likely that his opponent had already broken through to the divine king. Night Sorrow's words were a bit unrealistic. After all, Night Sorrow was only a lower divine god. He was more than 10 million miles away from the divine king and divine monarchs. If he wanted to catch up, who knew how many reincarnations it would take? Brother Patian, remember this. Nothing is absolute. This is especially true in the world of cultivators. Night Sorrow didn't explain too much, nor did he mention how long he had cultivated. At this moment, Xian Jizi just so happened to return. He brought back more than 10 delicacies from the Drunken Immortal restaurant, as well as several jars of fine wine. The wine was the Drunken Immortal brew, which was very famous in Haibei City. After drinking it, one's comprehension ability would increase slightly. Xian Jizi had paid a heavy price this time. Although he had cheated and swindled, he wasn't one to take advantage of his friends. Night Sorrow had gifted him a mansion, so he bought wine and food in return. At the end of the drinking, Xian Jizi also introduced his own origins. He was originally a fortune teller from a lower realm, mingling in the marketplace. Later, he came across a cultivation manual by chance and climbed all the way to the divine realm. After arriving in the divine realm, he became a loose cultivator and stayed in Haibei City for 2 eras. Because he couldn't obtain a complete cultivation technique, his cultivation improved extremely slowly. Originally, Xian Jizi thought that he would always be in this awkward situation of muddling along and waiting for death. However, Night Sorrow's appearance reignited a trace of hope for the future in his heart. Xian Jizi and Neopodian were both honest. Night Sorrow also spoke of his own origins, as well as the matter of Wu Lingfei being captured and his family being injured. He asked Xian Jizi and Niu Patian to help him find a way to treat Yi Linghuan, Lin Piaomiao, and Yi Xiaoluo's injuries. Xian Jizi and Niu Patian didn't have any countermeasures for this for the time being. However, Xian Jizi suggested that they go to the city tomorrow to make an announcement. He believed that as long as the rewards were in place, they would definitely obtain useful information. After getting 2 opportunities in Haibei City, he was completely an old fox in the city. I wonder what treasures are in Wenren Hao's spatial magic treasure. After drinking with Xian Jizi and Niu Patian, Night Sorrow fed the immortal crane and koi fish. Then, he began to set up a divine-level defensive formation. When he finished, Niu Potion's god-destroying tribulation still hadn't arrived. Night Sorrow wasn't in a hurry to go to the market. He gave the spatial magic treasures of the 3 cultivators today to 2 of them. Then, he began to study Wenren Hao's spatial magic treasure. This was something he won from a bet. He had just set aside some time to study it. Only 8,000 divine crystals. Wenren Hao had once said that he bet 100,000 divine crystals with Night Sorrow. In the end, there were less than 10,000 divine crystals in the spatial magic treasure. Night Sorrow was quite speechless about this. There weren't a lot of materials for refining pills and tools. They were only worth 10 to 20,000 divine crystals. 3 divine weapons with 4 thunder tribulation feathers were lying quietly in the spatial magic treasure. These divine weapons didn't have weapon spirits. They were only weapons used for battle. The most valuable thing was a divine-level cultivation technique called the Sky Illuminating Divine Technique, and an absolute art called the Sky Illuminating Dragon Capturing Hands. The names of these 2 books were similar. Night Sorrow guessed that they were related. They are indeed related. After studying it in the accelerated spatial magic treasure, Night Sorrow felt that the Sky Illuminating Divine Technique was too ordinary. Moreover, it didn't seem to be a complete cultivation technique. If he rashly cultivated it, although he could improve his cultivation in a short period of time, it wouldn't be a good thing in the long run. Although he was anxious to improve his cultivation, Night Sorrow couldn't spoil things by pulling up seedlings. For the time being, he put the Sky Illuminating Divine Technique aside. As for the absolute art called the Sky Illuminating Dragon Capturing Hands, Night Sorrow began to cultivate it seriously. For things like absolute arts, learning one more type was one more type. He didn't mind learning more. Brother Night Sorrow, old liar, my god-destroying tribulation is here. As soon as Night Sorrow learned the Sky Illuminating Dragon Capturing Hands, Niu Potion's shout sounded in the outside world. His voice was slightly trembling. Obviously, he was afraid when the god-destroying tribulation really came. Brother Patian. Only when your heart is invincible can you overcome the god-destroying tribulation. Don't be afraid. Knowing that Niu Patian was from the ancient Yak tribe and wasn't good at fighting, Night Sorrow teleported out of the room and reminded him loudly. Chapter 2380. Niu Patian, who was floating in mid-air, was suddenly awakened by Night Sorrow's reminder. He opened up a green energy shield around him. Brother Patian, you should be unmoved by anything in your path of cultivation. Don't think too much, just soar into the sky. Xian Jizi, who flew out of the room, reminded him. This was the first time he had called Niu Patian, Brother Patian. Thank you both. Niu Patian cupped his fists and replied. He then focused on facing the tribulation. At this moment, a black tribulation cloud appeared in the sky, blocking out the light in the surroundings, turning the area within 100 miles into pitch-black darkness. The tribulation clouds continued to churn, causing everything in the world to become quiet. As time passed, the tribulation cloud's energy started to shrink into a human-shaped energy body. It looked similar to Niu Patian, as if it was his clone. This lightning energy body had a lightning bolt that reached the sky. It was Niu Potion's deity vanquishing tribulation body. If Niu Patian wanted to become an immortal, he had to defeat it. Come, let's fight. It was either a carp leaping over the dragon's gate or death. Neopadian used the power of his spiritual soul to take out a lightning tribulation divine weapon that Yi Shang had forged for him, the Ask the Heavens divine sword. Night Sorrow didn't make 3 Ask the Heavens godly sword because he was afraid that Neopadian wouldn't be able to use it. Pa! The tribulation body also had a long sword in its hand, but it was made of lightning. It immediately slashed at Neopadian. Let's fight. Neopadian, who couldn't rely on anyone's help, had no choice but to fight. He turned the Ask the Heavens godly sword in his hand and stabbed at the tribulation body's sword. Crack. The 2 attacks had the same amount of energy. The deity vanquishing tribulation had used up 10% of its energy with just 1 strike. This tribulation is so much easier than the lower realm. After becoming an immortal, Night Sorrow's horizons were naturally much broader. He was quite upset when he saw how easy it was for cultivators in the realm of the gods. One had to know that he had almost died when he went through the tribulation. In the end, he had used up all of his chi and blood to barely succeed. From the looks of it, as long as there are enough resources, a feather god will soon appear in the Night Moon dynasty. Neopatian's perception wasn't that good, but he was still able to fight against the god-destroying tribulation body. Night Sorrow was very confident in his family. It's done. Have I become a god? 4 hours later, the deity vanquishing tribulation's incarnation in the sky naturally dissipated. Neopadian suddenly stood still in the sky. Because of the resources that Night Sorrow and Xian Jizi had prepared for him, the deity vanquishing tribulation had been a little too easy for him. He had only used up the divine force in his body and 100 divine crystals. Haha, congratulations on becoming a god, Brother Padian. From now on, no one will call you an ant below the immortal stage anymore, Night Sorrow congratulated him. He was happy for him. Xian Jizi, on the other hand, laughed and scolded, What? Becoming a god is so easy. Are you not satisfied and want to do it again? In the previous world, Xian Jizi was also a famous legendary figure who had survived the god annihilation tribulation. However, he was not in existence like Night Sorrow who had experienced the creation of the world. Thank you for taking care of me. I thought that I would never be able to become a god. In the past, Neopatian's talent was very ordinary and could not be considered outstanding. This also caused his confidence to be lacking. Brother Padian, I have a suggestion. Do you want to hear it? Xian Jizi suddenly asked. Of course. Neopatian, who was immersed in the joy of becoming a god, carefully sensed the increase in the power of his divine sense. After becoming a god, he was indeed countless times stronger than before. He had become a life form on a completely different level. It's not good for the 2 of us to always take advantage of Brother Night Sorrow. Why don't the 2 of us follow Brother Night Sorrow's lead from now on? Xian Jizi looked at Neopatian, then turned to look at Night Sorrow. Neopatian naturally agreed wholeheartedly. He hurriedly said, Of course I can work for Brother Night Sorrow. However, I'm naturally not good at fighting. I'm afraid I won't be of much help. Who says that you won't be of much help if you're not good at fighting? I see that you're a meticulous person. In the future, you'll be very suitable to help Brother Night Sorrow manage the shop. Xian Jizi knows that Brother Night Sorrow is a person with a broad mind. He's someone who will do great things. He won't bicker with us over small matters. After Xian Jizi and Neopadian finished speaking, he continued, However, in the path of cultivation, if you want to develop, you need a large amount of resources. Brother Night Sorrow still has his entire family to take care of. He can't raise us for free forever. We were originally rogue cultivators with no ability. Meeting someone with great fortune like Brother Night Sorrow is a great blessing. I hope that Brother Night Sorrow won't despise us for being useless. Xian Jizi's words were extremely sincere. He was definitely speaking from his heart. In the past, Xian Jizi was a big shot in the lower realm. However, after coming to the god realm, he had been silent for so long. He was truly unwilling. Now, Night Sorrow had completely brought him hope. Brothers, we haven't known each other for long. You might not understand Night Sorrow. I, Night Sorrow, have only had brothers since I started cultivating. I don't have subordinates. Night Sorrow then told Xianjizi and Niu Patian about some of his brothers in the lower realm. He started from Qin Zhen to Pu Luo and the others. After he finished, he continued, if you don't mind, we can form a team together. Like the god-slaying team? Xianjizi and Niu Patian asked in unison. There's no need to be like. It's the god-slaying team from the god realm. If you want to join the god-slaying team, your character is not the key. Although we haven't known each other for long, Night Sorrow is confident in his ability to judge people. Night Sorrow said firmly. Then, he officially said, you know my enemy. He's very strong, but I have to face him. If you join, you won't have the chance to regret it. Xianjizi is naturally willing to join. Patian is also willing to join. Xianjizi and Niu Patian said in unison. Good. The god-slaying team of the divine world officially invites the two of you to join. Night Sorrow was quite satisfied with Xianjizi and Niu Patian. They were not the kind of people who were treacherous. Brother Xianjizi, you have a lot of experience. In the future, you will be the vice-captain of the god-slaying team. After the team was formed, Night Sorrow appointed Xianjizi as the vice-captain. He then said to Niu Patian, Brother Patian is not good at fighting. In the future, you should focus more on the shop. It won't be long before we have our first shop in High Bay City. As for Brother Potion's clansmen, when my cultivation is high enough, I will accompany you to help them. Thank you, Captain. Niu Patian was not stupid. He directly changed the way he addressed Xianjizi. I will help you make the announcement first. Xianjizi left immediately and went to the city to post announcements related to Yi Linghuan, Lin Piaomiao, and Yi Shaluo for Night Sorrow. Chapter 2381. Yi Linghuan, Lin Piaomiao, and Yi Shaluo weren't in good condition. If he didn't solve their problems, Night Sorrow wouldn't be in the mood to go to the Zhenyuan Divine Lord's cave. Logically speaking, if one wanted to find a solution after being injured by a high god, they should seek help from a high god. However, other than Mingi, there were only 4 high gods in High Bay City. Each of them was like a local tyrant. Night Sorrow couldn't meet them at all, so he could only hope that the notice would work. Saving one's family didn't necessarily require a lot of divinity crystals or resources. Night Sorrow didn't dare to rashly deal with the 3-4 tribulation lightning artifacts he got from Wenrenhao, so he still wasn't very rich. He could only continue to set up a stall at the Sea Sky Bazaar. It took him about a month to finish all the orders he had accumulated. Night Sorrow finally had some free time. He sat at the stall, drinking and chatting with Xianjizi and Niu Patian. Suddenly, someone from the bazaar's enforcement team came and told Night Sorrow that he had to go to the enforcement team to hand over his share of the earnings. He also confirmed whether he wanted to renew the contract. The 1-year lease was almost up. 10% of the earnings must be handed over. There's no need to renew the contract. I've already paid 10 years worth of rent for this stall. There are still 3 years left. I'll just change it to an alchemy and weapon refining stall. My fortune-telling stall doesn't take up much space anyway. Those who joined Night Sorrow's god-slaying team were family. Before Night Sorrow left with the enforcement team, Xianjizi reminded him. Okay, I got it. Currently, he didn't have enough resources and couldn't buy a shop directly. However, he didn't lack 100 divinity crystals. Still, Night Sorrow appreciated his kindness. You're Night Sorrow, right? I heard that your business has been booming this year. You must have earned a lot of divinity crystals, right? The person who came to inform Night Sorrow was a low-rank feather god. He wore the blue robes of the bazaar's enforcement team and had a hint of arrogance on his face. He asked while flying. Ha! Business is indeed good, but I've only earned some materials. I haven't earned a single divinity crystal. Night Sorrow answered honestly. Oh. Is that so? The blue-robed law enforcer, Lu Yu, gave Night Sorrow a meaningful look. Brother, are we on the right path? Shouldn't we go to the market's enforcement team to hand in our share? Night Sorrow asked in confusion after flying with Lu Yu for a while. Oh. This is the way to our captain's mansion. It doesn't matter where we go. Lu Yu said indifferently. That's true. Although Night Sorrow had doubts in his heart, he didn't say much. He followed Lu Yu to the residence of the white-robed enforcement captain, Lu Jiangtian, to hand over his share. Yo, the popular person of the Sea and Sky Bazaar is here. Sorry for not going out to meet you. This way please, Master Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow followed behind Lu Yu. As soon as they entered a mansion, Lu Jiangtian, who was dressed in a white robe, came out to welcome them with a smile. Captain Lu. You're too polite. Just call me by my name. Night Sorrow cupped his fists at him. He handed over a spatial artifact and said, "This is my share of income so far. Please check it, Captain Lu. Let me see the amount." Lu Jiangtian took the spatial artifact with a smile. He checked it with his divine sense and said, very good. The amount matches the market's statistics. Master Night Sorrow is indeed an upright person. You're too kind. A man can't live without integrity. Captain Lu, you're too kind. Since this matter is settled, I'll take my leave. Xian Jizi and Niu Patian had both warned him that Lu Jiangtian was a good-for-nothing. Night Sorrow prepared to leave after handing over his share. Sigh. At this moment, Lu Jiangtian suddenly let out a sigh as an awkward expression appeared on his face. Captain Lu, what's the matter? Just say it. Night Sorrow knew that Lu Jiangtian had something to say, so he asked. To be honest, I've recently broken through to the upper level of the Divine Feather Realm. The Two Thunder Divine artifact that I used in the past is no longer suitable for me. So, I want to forge a divine artifact of a higher grade, Lu Jiangtian said. Oh, I see. What do you need, Captain Lu? Do you have the materials? If you have the materials, Night Sorrow can help. Night Sorrow said politely. No matter where it was, relationships were important. If he could build a good relationship with Captain Lu Jiangtian, helping him once was not a big deal. I heard that Master Night Sorrow can forge a 5 Thunder Divine Artifact robe. I wonder if you can forge a 5 Thunder Divine Artifact. Lu Jiangtian had heard people mention that Night Sorrow had a 5 Thunder Divine Artifact, the Void Robe. He had been thinking about it for a long time. I can give it a try, but I can't guarantee the success rate. I had to forge it 6 times before I succeeded. To be able to forge a 5 Thunder Divine Artifact, one could be considered a relatively heaven-defying craftsman in High Bay City. However, he was definitely not the best. Night Sorrow felt that there was nothing to hide. In fact, he had only forged the Void Robe once before he succeeded. Oh. I see. I've prepared 3 sets of materials. I can't afford more. After all, we don't earn resources as fast as you do. Lu Jiangtian sighed. He took out the materials he had prepared and handed them to Night Sorrow. He said politely, "Then I'll have to trouble you, Brother Night Sorrow. I need a long sword." Okay, I'll do my best. After receiving the materials, Night Sorrow followed Lu Jiangtian into the mansion. They found an open space and took out the 8-dragon cauldron to forge. It was supposed to be a walk in the park, but Night Sorrow felt that he had to pretend to be difficult. He chose to fail the first time and the cauldron exploded before the sword was formed. It's okay, it's okay. Lu Jiangtian's face turned a little ugly, but he was still polite. Lu Jiangtian's 4 subordinates whispered among themselves. They secretly thought that Night Sorrow was just so. The people in the market had said too much about him. It was completely false. The sword is formed. The second time, under Night Sorrow's intentional control, he forged a divine weapon with 4 thunder feathers. Good sword, but it's only a divine weapon with 4 thunder feathers, not 5. It's a pity. Lu Jiangtian sighed. Obviously, he was not satisfied. The 4 people who were talking about Night Sorrow were much more honest. There weren't many blacksmiths in High Bay City who could forge 4 thunder feathers. His future would definitely be much brighter than theirs. Night Sorrow's divine power is not enough. He still needs to rest for a while before he can continue. There's only 1 set of materials left. Night Sorrow is not sure if he can forge a divine weapon with 5 thunder feathers. Night Sorrow, who was pretending that his divine power was not enough, secretly thought that if Lu Jiangtian really wanted it, he could forge one for him. However, he would definitely control the attributes he added. For example, after the Clear Sky Pagoda became a divine weapon, it could increase speed by 100 times. When refining for Lu Jiangtian, although he would also add the time attribute, Night Sorrow would control the acceleration to 2 to 3 times. This way, it would only increase the speed when attacking. It wasn't terrifying. This Lu is already very grateful that Brother Night Sorrow is able to forge a divine weapon with 4 thunder feathers. However, since there are still materials, why don't you use them to practice? Lu Jiangtian cupped his hands. Chapter 2382. It was something that Night Sorrow was confident in. Moreover, the quality of the materials was very high. It wasn't too difficult for him to refine it. After swallowing a few elixirs to recover his divine power, Night Sorrow successfully refined the divine artifact with 5 lightning tribulation feathers. Ding! When the long sword was refined, it let out a crisp dragon's cry. Good sword. This is what I, Lu Jiangtian, want. Seeing the long sword with 5 lightning tribulation feathers being refined, Lu Jiangtian's eyes turned green. He shouted in a trembling voice. He quickly stepped forward and grabbed the long sword, as if he was afraid that someone would snatch it away. At this moment, Lu Jiangtian was clearly a little out of control. His eyes were filled with greed, which gave Night Sorrow a bad feeling. A righteous person would never reveal such a look at any time. That feeling of greed was like falling into the devil's path. No wonder Brother Xian Jizi said that Lu Jiangtian's character wasn't good. Just by looking at his eyes, it's clear that he's not a good person. It's better to stay away from people like him. Seeing Lu Jiangtian's expression, Night Sorrow thought to himself that he should avoid interacting with such people and not help either side in the future. After pondering for a moment, Night Sorrow said, Captain Lu, the birth of a divine artifact requires a lightning tribulation. If there's nothing else, you can take the long sword and undergo the tribulation. Alright, I got it. With the long sword in hand, the originally cultured and refined Lu Jiangtian's tones suddenly turned cold. This was completely his subconscious reaction. Lu Jiangtian's character wasn't bad, but his strength was definitely not weak. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to become the captain of the market's enforcement team and successfully pass the tribulation with the long sword. The other 4 members of the enforcement team were all envious. A divine artifact with 5 lightning tribulation feathers was already a rare treasure in High Bay City. Among the hundreds of millions of cultivators, there were probably less than 1,000 people who had one. Seeing Lu Jiangtian fiddling with the long sword with a fervent look in his eyes after passing the tribulation, Night Sorrow quietly left and returned to the market. How was it, Brother Night Sorrow? Did Lu Jiangtian make things difficult for you? Xian Jizi asked when he saw Night Sorrow return. After the formation of the God-slaying squad, Night Sorrow had told them not to call him captain and that everyone should address each other as brothers, so Xian Jizi didn't change his way of addressing him. It's alright. I helped him forge a divine artifact with 5 lightning tribulation feathers. Night Sorrow spoke the truth. This didn't cost him much. Brother Night Sorrow, you can really forge 5 thunder calamity feathers. Hearing this, Niu Patian was immediately surprised. Niu Potion's perception and vision were very ordinary. Naturally, he was not as wise as Xian Jizi. He could not see the extraordinariness of Night Sorrow. Yes. In the future, when you are strong enough, I will make one for you. If I have time, I will make a divine artifact with 3 lightning tribulation feathers for you. As for brother, I'll give you a divine artifact with 4 lightning tribulation feathers. As he spoke, Night Sorrow took out a defensive robe with 4 lightning tribulation feathers that he won from Wenren Hao from his spatial device and handed it to Xian Jizi. Although he had to prepare a lot of resources for his family, Night Sorrow felt that he should not mistreat Xian Jizi and Niu Patian. After all, they were brothers now. Thank you, Captain. Xian Jizi, who was not courteous, secretly said, "Oh right. Brother Night Sorrow, the little girl who looked for you last time. She came again just now. This time, she said that you will regret it if you don't go. Because she knows the way to save your family." Is there such a thing? Hearing this, Night Sorrow, who had just sat down on the bamboo chair, stood up immediately. That's what she said. As for whether it's true or not, I can't be sure. But it's better to believe it than not. Xian Jizi said and handed over a piece of paper. On the paper, there were 2 lines of words. One line said that she had a clue to save Night Sorrow's family, and the other line was her address. After reading the address, Night Sorrow said in surprise, "Isn't this where our mansion is?" "She's our neighbor." This address was the mansion that Han Qianlu fell into that day. It sounded like a shrewish voice at that time. Night Sorrow secretly recalled the situation that day and said to Xian Jizi and Niu Patian, "The 2 of you take orders here. I'll go back for a while." Night Sorrow valued his family more than himself. Now that he had a clue, he naturally wanted to rush over as soon as possible. "Today. You're not going anywhere. Take him down." At this moment, a cold voice suddenly came from the sky. It was Lu Jiangtian, who had brought 4 members of the market's enforcement team. "Captain Lu, what's the meaning of this?" Night Sorrow was puzzled. "I've already given you the share and refined 5 lightning tribulation feathers for you. You owe me a favor." "What's going on now?" "Bastard. You're asking the obvious." Lu Jiangtian reprimanded with a cold expression, "Night Sorrow, oh Night Sorrow, ever since you came to the market, I've admired your talent and took care of you in every possible way. Now, not only did you refuse to pay the share, you even injured 2 of my subordinates with your cultivation. Now that their lives are in danger, I must take you back and give them an explanation." After Night Sorrow left, Lu Jiangtian had an evil thought in his heart during the sword test. He wanted to control Night Sorrow so that he could make more money for him. Therefore, he made up a groundless accusation. How can there be such a shameless person in this world? Hearing this, Night Sorrow was so angry that he was about to explode. He retorted, "If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. Didn't I give you the share just now? Also, when did I injure your subordinates? What proof do you have?" "Proof? In this market, my will is the proof. What are you waiting for? Take him down." Lu Jiangtian sneered. "Lu Jiangtian, you're so shameless." Night Sorrow said disdainfully. "Not only did you not pay the share, but you also injured the law enforcers. No one can save you. Run, you can't run away. Yi Shang, you've broken the rules. Surrender now. This will save your divine soul some pain. If you resist, don't blame us for being ruthless." The law enforcers who surrounded Night Sorrow from all directions threatened him. "Ha, I broke the rules. I broke the rules, didn't I? Today, no one can take me away." The 4 of them were all present and witnessed Night Sorrow refining the divine weapon for Lu Jiangtian. Now, they were also distorting the truth. Night Sorrow was even angrier. "If you want to take Brother Night Sorrow away, you'll have to defeat me first." Seeing that the situation was not good, Xian Jizi immediately stood next to Night Sorrow and did not retreat at all. "And me, Niu Patian." Although Niu Patian did not have much combat power, he was still quite stubborn and was not a coward. "Good. I, Night Sorrow, am fortunate to be able to become brothers with the 2 of you." Chapter 2383. "Ha, you've just arrived, but you're quite popular. You even have the help of a mid-level feather god. Looks like I'll have to do it myself. Today, none of you traitors will escape." Lu Jiangtian knew that Xian Jizi was a mid-level feather god and that his subordinates wouldn't be able to fight him. He took out a long sword from his spatial artifact and taunted Night Sorrow, "I heard that you're quite good at refining. What do you think of my 5 Thunder Tribulation longsword?" This was a complete mockery of Yi Shang. To be able to say such words, Lu Jiangtian was truly shameless to a certain extent. Your sword may be a divine artifact with 5 Thunder Tribulation feathers and good attributes, but it's an ominous sword. It's a sword that kills its master. You'll die by it one day. Night Sorrow naturally wouldn't let the other party be so shameless. He responded coldly. You deserve to die. In Lu Jiangtian's eyes, Night Sorrow was nothing more than a floating existence. After being mocked, his expression became sinister. He let out a cold harumph and slashed out with his sword. A dark red sword light shot toward Xian Jizi. Although Lu Jiangtian said that Yi Shang deserved to die, he directly attacked Xian Jizi with a sneak attack. Night Sorrow was his money tree, so he couldn't just kill him. Bam! In fact, Lu Jiangtian's true strength wasn't much stronger than Xian Jizi's, but his longsword was a divine artifact with 5 Thunder Tribulation feathers, and it was a sneak attack. Xian Jizi used his compass to block, but he was clearly slower by half a beat. The sword landed on his chest. If Night Sorrow hadn't given him a defensive robe with 4 Thunder Tribulation feathers, he would have been seriously injured. You deserve to die. Night Sorrow was furious that Xian Jizi was injured by his own 5 Thunder Tribulation longsword. He took out the Bloodlust Banisher's spear from his spatial artifact and held it in front of him. You dare to attack? Do you want to add to your crimes? Lu Jiangtian sneered when he saw Night Sorrow take out his divine artifact. He completely disregarded Night Sorrow's cultivation as a lesser feather god. Not only will I attack you, but I will also kill you. Patian, take good care of Xian Jizi. Lu Jiangtian had touched Night Sorrow's bottom line, and his heart was filled with boundless killing intent. Even if I have to expose some of my trump cards today, I will still kill you. All of you, die. Last time, when Ming 12 and the others had provoked him, Night Sorrow had taught them a lesson and not killed them. But today was different. Lu Jiangtian's attack had almost killed Xian Jizi. This was something he could not tolerate. Seeing that the other 4 enforcers were surrounding Niu Patian, who was saving Xian Jizi, Night Sorrow furiously thrust out his blood Qilin evil punishing spear. He was using a technique that he had just learned. Although it wasn't complete, it was more than enough to deal with ordinary low-level feather gods. The simple and unadorned Overlord's spear pierced through space and time, heading straight for the heads of the 4 law enforcers. It was clearly a spear, but the 4 law enforcers felt that the spear was aimed at them. They blocked it with the divine artifacts in their hands. Poof! 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 The sound of flesh exploding rang out 4 times in a row. Although the 4 law enforcers blocked with their divine artifacts, they were obviously half a beat too slow. They had completely misjudged the blood Qilin evil punishing spear that pierced through space and time. Isn't this Master Yi a little too powerful? That's right. He killed 4 cultivators of the same level in one move. Is he still human? The problem should be with his divine artifact. His divine artifact is a 5 Thunder Tribulation Feather divine artifact. It can pierce through space and time. Night Sorrow, in his explosive state, killed 4 law enforcers with a simple move. The surrounding cultivators couldn't help but exclaim and discuss. Captain is so strong. Niu Patian, who had just taken out a pill and fed it to Xian Jizi, was shocked. Night Sorrow was usually gentle and polite. Who would have thought that he would be so terrifying when he exploded? It was as if he had transformed into an ancient beast. That explosive aura was not something that an ordinary lower feather god could possess. I didn't know that you had some skills. But do you think that you can escape from my punishment after killing 4 good-for-nothings? Lu Jiangtian laughed indifferently after his 4 subordinates were killed. Obviously, he was cold-blooded by nature. As he spoke, he suddenly stabbed with his sword. This time, it was a sneak attack. The dark red sword light was dozens of times more dazzling than the one that had just stabbed at Xianjizi. You're too arrogant. I didn't want to escape at all. It was not Knight Sorrow's character to not resist after being bullied like this. He roared and waved the blood Qilin evil punishing spear, using the infinite destruction slash. The blood Qilin evil punishing spear's original attributes were most suitable for killing demons. After being upgraded to a divine artifact, it had been integrated with the spacetime attribute and the infinite attribute. Both the infinite destruction slash and the spacetime destruction slash could be used. Boom! The spear and the sword collided. Knight Sorrow and Lu Jiangtian both retreated dozens of steps. I didn't expect that a lower feather god like you would have such amazing strength. I really underestimated you. Under the watchful eyes of so many people, Lu Jiangtian, who was extremely concerned about his reputation, was infuriated to see that Zhang Xian was able to fight a lesser feather god to a draw. I didn't expect you to be so weak either. I'm afraid that your true strength is only slightly stronger than a middle feather god. You should be the weakest among the upper feather gods. A divine artifact with 5 thunder tribulation feathers is simply a waste in your hands, Knight Sorrow mocked disdainfully. The many cultivators who had witnessed the two of them being evenly matched were even more shocked. It was the first time that a lower feather god had fought a higher feather god head-on and not been at a disadvantage. The last time I saw such a situation was the Heartless Divine King 4 eras ago. At that time, the Heartless Divine King was a lower feather god and fought a higher feather god. In the end, both sides were injured. Could it be that Master Knight has the potential to become the Divine King? An elderly cultivator among the spectators exclaimed in admiration. Our High Bay city is located in a remote corner and lacks geniuses. The other cities in the divine realm look down on us. Now, another genius has finally appeared. This is a great blessing. The world had luck, and so did the cities. High Bay City hadn't had an expert for a long time, so its luck was getting worse and worse. Now that Knight Sorrow had appeared, many people were happy. Bastard! I'm the future #1 expert of High Bay City. Hearing the crowd's discussion, the furious Lu Jiangtian glared at Knight Sorrow and said word by word, "Today, you will die without a doubt." Originally, Lu Jiangtian had wanted to suppress Knight Sorrow and make Knight Sorrow forge weapons for him for a long time. Now, the jealousy in his heart made him go completely crazy. I'll let you have a taste of my ultimate skill. The crazy Lu Jiangtian roared and transformed into an azure dragon. He waved his long sword and slashed out his strongest ultimate skill. Azure Dragon Heaven-Slaying Sword. It turned out that Lu Jiangtian's true form was an azure dragon. Chapter 2384. Azure Dragon Heaven-Slaying Sword. Legend has it that this is a move created by the divine king of the azure dragons when he was young. It's an incomparably tyrannical secret art. I wonder if Master Knight can resist it. It's rare for a genius to appear in High Bay City who can challenge those of a higher level. He won't be obliterated just like that, right? Everyone discussed animatedly. This move is indeed powerful. The sword intent of the Azure Dragon Heaven-Slaying Sword was extremely shocking, causing Knight Sorrow to feel apprehensive. Knight Sorrow unreservedly circulated the golden merit energy to protect his body and displayed the secret art he had just learned, Sky Illuminating Dragon Capturing Hands. This was what he had won from a bet with Wenrenhao. Sky Illuminating Dragon Capturing Hands. From the name, it could be seen that it was somewhat effective against dragons. Lu Jiangtian, you really have a bad character and are hated by the heavens. I casually learned a secret art that is targeted at you. Knight Sorrow, who had instantly transformed his body into 100 Zhanglong, directly used Sky Illuminating Dragon Capturing Hands to grab Lu Jiangtian's body that had transformed into an azure dragon. This was a battle that would cause both sides to suffer. If Lu Jiangtian chose to face it head-on, Knight Sorrow would definitely be slashed, but he would also be hit by Sky Illuminating Dragon Capturing Hands. If Knight Sorrow was hit, his injuries would definitely be more serious. Damn it! However, Lu Jiangtian did not have the determination of Night Sorrow, who had experienced hundreds of battles and was not afraid of death. He immediately transformed back into his human form and dodged Night Sorrow's sky-illuminating dragon-capturing hands. Sky-illuminating dragon-capturing hands was a secret art that was developed against dragons. It was very effective against his dragon body. If you retreat, you will be completely defeated. Seeing Lu Jiangtian's performance, Night Sorrow revealed a mocking smile and stabbed out with the blood-Qilin evil vanquishing spear. The simple and unadorned spear pierced through the void. Lu Jiangtian wanted to use his long sword to block, but he realized that his speed could not keep up. How could he have known that Night Sorrow had only used 3 times the time and space acceleration to refine a divine weapon for him? The blood-Qilin evil vanquishing spear was much stronger. This difference caused the two's speed to be completely unequal. Pooh! Although Night Sorrow didn't have much of an advantage in terms of divine yuan qi, the advantage brought by the divine weapon gave him a clear advantage in terms of speed. His spear pierced through Lu Jiangtian's chest. How is this possible? Why is it so fast? Lu Jiangtian was a high-level feather god, but he couldn't figure out why there was such a huge gap between the 5 divine weapons of Thunder Calamity. Nothing is impossible. I said that you will die under this sword. Night Sorrow coldly used his spiritual energy to pick up the sword that had fallen to the ground and placed it against Lu Jiangtian's neck, preparing to end his life with a single strike. Gods were immortal, but if they were killed by someone and had their soul destroyed, they would be completely obliterated. Spare me. Master Night Sorrow, please spare my life. I was just confused for a moment. Please forgive me, Master Night Sorrow. Lu Jiangtian, whose body had been pierced by the blood-Qilin evil-slaying spear, was in a very bad state. However, he gritted his teeth and knelt on the ground to apologize. Let you go. So that you can continue to target me? Night Sorrow sneered. Stop. At this moment, a shout came from the distant sky. It was Zhuo Wei, the law enforcement captain of the Central District of Haibei City. He had arrived with his subordinates. Like Murong Bai, he was one of the 5 law enforcement captains of Haibei City and was a half-step high god. Lu Jiangtian, on the other hand, was only one of the law enforcement captains of the Sea Sky Bazaar. They were not on the same level. Who can tell me what's going on here? Zhuo Wei's face was solemn, and he gave off a very strong pressure. Captain Zhuo Wei, not only did Night Sorrow refuse to pay his share, but he also injured 2 of my subordinates. I brought people to capture him, but he killed 4 of my subordinates. Now, I'm also injured by him. Captain Zhuo Wei, please help Jiangtian. Night Sorrow put away the blood-Qilin evil-slaying spear. Without the spear's restraint, Lu Jiangtian collapsed to the ground and complained before he could get up. You're an upper-level feather god, but you were injured by a lower-level feather god? And it was 5 against 1. Hearing Lu Jiangtian's words, Zhuo Wei slowly landed on the ground and retorted with a look of disdain. It was indeed embarrassing for an upper-level feather god to be defeated by a lower-level feather god. This had not happened in Haibei City for many eras. The battle had happened so quickly that Zhuo Wei did not see the details of the battle. When he arrived, all he saw was Night Sorrow preparing to kill someone. This Night Sorrow looks like a lower-level feather god, but his strength is similar to an upper-level feather god. Lu Jiangtian complained in his heart. He had discovered this point during the battle earlier. While Night Sorrow's raw strength might be slightly weaker than his, the battle prowess he displayed when going all out was not inferior to his at all. Oh. Did you learn some kind of cultivation technique to conceal your cultivation? Zhuo Wei curiously sized up Yi Shan when he heard Lu Jiangtian's words. It's not that Night Sorrow is too strong, but that Lu Jiangtian is too weak. On the surface, he looks like an upper-level feather god, but his foundation is not stable. His strength is not comparable to most middle-level feather gods. In fact, Night Sorrow only told half the truth. Although Lu Jiangtian's strength was average, he lost mainly because he did not have the courage to fight. This was because he had been in the Sea Sky Empire for a long time. So you're saying that a lower-level feather god like you is stronger than the average middle-level feather god? Zhuo Wei had the appearance of a young man with a beard. He had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes, and he had a rather cold temperament. I'm not stronger than the average middle-level feather god, but I might not lose in a fight, Night Sorrow said honestly. Good. You're very good. You're a talent. Zhuo Wei nodded and praised, then said with a cold expression, but talent is talent. What's going on today? Is Lu Jiangtian telling the truth? I will not show mercy to anyone who dares to cause trouble in my, Zhuo Wei's, jurisdiction. His sword-like eyebrows twitched, giving people a sense of oppression that made it hard to breathe. Night Sorrow felt this pressure very clearly. This was another existence he could not fight against. Of course it's not the truth. Night Sorrow took out the video crystal that he had secretly recorded in Lu Jiangtian's house, as well as the one he had just recorded. He handed it to Zhuo Wei and said, "You'll know what's going on when you see it." Okay. I'll tell you after I see it. Zhuo Wei took the 2 video crystals and watched them carefully from beginning to end. He said angrily, "Lu Jiangtian, you good for nothing, I didn't expect you to be this kind of trash. Men, take him back." After ordering his men to take Lu Jiangtian away, Zhuo Wei looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Are you interested in a drink or two?" To be honest, Lord Zhuo Wei, Night Sorrow has an urgent matter to attend to. Night Sorrow told him the truth about his family's injuries and told him that he was going to meet the woman who had left the note. He was in no mood to drink because of his family's matters. Good. You're a sentimental person. Cultivators like us should be like this. I'll help you find out about your family's matters. Zhuo Wei did not care about being refused a drink. Before leaving, he threw Lu Jiangtian's sword and said, "This is the compensation you deserve." As for Lu Jiangtian, I don't know how many reincarnations it will be before we meet again. Lord, don't. Hearing Zhuo Wei's words, Lu Jiangtian wanted to cry. He was an old man in Haibei City and knew that Zhuo Wei wanted to banish him to the most terrifying prison in Haibei City. Endless Bone Region. Brother Lu, take care. Chapter 2385. The Endless Bone Region. It was a small world where Haibei City had exiled all kinds of criminals since ancient times. There were countless skeletal creatures that could come back from the dead, and the cultivator's divine essence chi and divine soul power would be severely suppressed. It was not impossible for the cultivators who were exiled to come out successfully. It would take 3 or 4 reincarnations. As for how many years that would be, it was impossible to calculate. Lu Jiangtian's fate of being exiled to the Endless Bone Region was actually worse than having his divine soul destroyed. Brother Xian Jizi, how are your injuries? After sending off Zhuo Wei and the others, Night Sorrow turned to look at Xian Jizi, who was lying on the side and recuperating, and asked with concern. These 4 Thunder Tribulation defensive robes are really good. I originally thought that I would be killed by his sword, but I found that it was not a big deal. My bones were not damaged, and I will recover after a period of recuperation. Xian Jizi said with relief. It's all my fault for bringing this disaster. When I come back, we brothers will have a good drink. In a hurry to find the female cultivator who left the note, Night Sorrow did not say much. He asked Niu Padian to take good care of Xian Jizi and left the market in a hurry. When Night Sorrow arrived at Nanhuai Alley, it was as quiet as usual. Excuse me, is there anyone in the mansion? Night Sorrow asked as he landed in front of the ancient-looking mansion. Out of courtesy, he did not directly use his divine soul power to probe. Of course there is. We have been waiting for you for many days. A sullen female voice sounded from the mansion. Then she said in an extremely indignant tone, "You are Night Sorrow, right? What a great honor. I have to invite you several times before you come. Hee, I was too busy a few days ago, so I am here now." Night Sorrow smiled and apologized. The other party was related to the safety of Yiling Huan and the others, so he did not want to leave a bad impression. Humph. You are probably here for the clues to treat your family. The female voice snorted and continued, if you can break the formation at the door, we can talk inside. I am just a maid, and my family's young miss is waiting for you inside. If you can't break it, just leave. An upper-level feather god is only a maid? What's the cultivation level of the young lady inside? Although he couldn't see the female voice, Night Sorrow was able to confirm that she was an upper-level feather god at such a close distance. This high-level feather god actually dared to call her a mere servant girl. Night Sorrow was surprised, but he didn't say anything. Since the other party mentioned breaking the formation, it was obvious that he wanted to test him and see if he had any value. For the sake of Grandpa, Misty, and little Luo, I must break this formation before me. After making up his mind, Night Sorrow took a few steps towards the door. Gradually, he realized that something was wrong. After passing through the door, he entered a small world filled with birds and flowers. There was no sun in this small world, but it was not dim. The aura was different from the divine realm. It felt like a paradise. Is this an illusion set up by a formation? Although he was anxious about Yi Linghuan, Lin Piaomiao, and Yi Xiaoluo, Yi Shang completely relaxed after entering the small world. He carefully sensed everything in the small world, because the greatest taboo in breaking formations was to be impatient. Time attribute. Space attribute. Life attribute. Death attribute. This small illusion formation actually contains 4 attributes: space-time attribute and infinity attribute. Night Sorrow was very familiar with the attributes he detected. Combining them with the divine level formation diagrams he learned, he began to think of a way to break the formation. However, according to the divine level formation diagrams, he realized that there was no way to break the formation. He couldn't find any formation core or formation patterns. Space-time attribute and infinity attribute. If I add the destruction attribute, it will be the reincarnation attribute. If I add the void attribute, it will be the primordial attribute. After that, Night Sorrow focused on the attributes. He wondered if breaking the formation would require him to use his own attributes to form another attribute. However, if I form the taboo attribute, will it attract unnecessary trouble? After pondering for a while, Night Sorrow made up his mind. His family was still waiting for treatment. What was there to hesitate about? He would just deal with whatever came his way. Hence, he began to add the void attribute to the small world, allowing it to go through complicated combinations to form the primordial attribute. As expected, after the primordial attribute was formed, the small world suddenly became a new world. This world was a long and narrow canyon with the smell of taboo. Yi Shang walked along the canyon and soon walked out of the illusory formation. He walked into a simple courtyard. This courtyard was planted with eggplants, chili, and other common crops. It also reared chickens, ducks, and other common poultry. Is there anyone here? Night Sorrow, who was not sure if he was still in the illusion, shouted. Night Sorrow, not only do you have the power of merit, you also have the taboo attribute. I found the right person. After a while, a young woman walked out of the simple farmhouse. The woman looked to be in her early 20s. She wore simple linen clothes, giving off an extremely otherworldly feeling. How did you know that I have the taboo attribute? After combining the taboo attribute, Night Sorrow was already prepared to be discovered. However, he did not understand how the other party found out that he had the taboo attribute. There are many secret techniques in the realm of gods that you have never heard of. The otherworldly woman did not directly tell Night Sorrow. Instead, she said softly, My name is Long Tianqing. I've called you here for 2 things. Which 2 things? Night Sorrow followed her words and asked. Although Long Tianqing had restrained her aura, Night Sorrow felt that she should be stronger than the underworld god. He could not help but think, who is this woman? Didn't they say that there were only 5 exalted gods in High Bay City? And they are all male cultivators. The first thing is that I can temporarily alleviate the injuries of your family members. I also know where to refine elixirs to treat your family members. Long Tianqing said emotionlessly. Then, she continued, the second thing is that I want you to do something for me. If you can heal my family members' injuries, doing something for you is naturally not a problem. Night Sorrow was rather excited when he heard what she said. Originally, he thought that he would at most get some clues on this trip. He did not expect to get an unexpected reward. I heard that you are about to go to the cave residence of the Divine Lord Jinyuan. Is this true? Long Tianqing asked. It is true. It is not a secret. Night Sorrow answered truthfully. Long Tianqing nodded and said, I need you to get a letter from the Divine Lord Jinyuan's cave residence for me. A letter? What letter is it? Night Sorrow asked, puzzled. The letter he left for me. If you can obtain an opportunity in the cave residence, you will naturally see it. Long Tianqing's eyes dimmed slightly. You are the Divine Lord Jinyuan's. Seeing the woman's reaction, Night Sorrow suddenly understood something. Don't ask unnecessary questions. Now, take me to your family members. I can't cure them, but I can slow down the speed at which the divine power corrodes their bodies. Chapter 2386. Actually, just as Long Tianqing thought, Night Sorrow had some questions that he couldn't figure out. For example, why would Long Tianqing find him when there were so many people about to enter the residence of the divine monarch Jinyuan? After pondering for a moment, Night Sorrow said cautiously, I can't see through your strength, but you are definitely much stronger than me. Bringing you to meet my family members is risking their lives. I will bring my injured family members here. Also, before that, we have to make a heavenly oath. The hidden island was a paradise that Yi Shang had found for his family with great difficulty. He definitely wouldn't bring anyone there, let alone an expert whose strength he couldn't see through. Alright. If I were you, I would make the same choice. I will wait for you here. You have already mastered the method to break the formation. Next time, you can come in directly. Long Tianqing said softly and raised her finger to make a heavenly oath. Then, she returned to the simple farmhouse. Okay, senior. I will return as soon as possible. She could be the confidant of the divine monarch Jinyuan, and the divine monarch Jinyuan was a legendary figure. Night Sorrow felt that there was nothing wrong with calling her senior. After making the same heavenly oath, Night Sorrow turned and walked out. He didn't set up any formation on the way out. Hey! Remember to come back as soon as possible. Don't delay any longer. Our Mrs. Time is very precious. Long Tianqing didn't rush him, but her maid Qing he was a sharp-tongued person. She chattered on for a while. Got it. Night Sorrow didn't say much to her. He returned to the market and said a few words to Xian Jizi and Niu Patian. Then, he left Hai Bay City and went straight to the hidden island. Something's wrong. Someone is following me. After leaving Hai Bay City, Night Sorrow realized that someone was following him before he even reached the seaside. Ha! You're quite alert. Night Sorrow had just stopped in the sky above a mountain when a burst of unbridled laughter came from behind him. Wenren Hao, it's you. Why are you following me? Night Sorrow looked over and realized that the stalker was Wenren Hao, who was dressed in black. Ha, why am I following you? Naturally, he wanted to kill you. I've said it before, I'll take back everything I've lost to you. Today is the day your soul is destroyed. Wenren Hao's murderous aura was very strong, and his eyes were filled with hatred. Not only did he lose all his wealth to Night Sorrow, he even knelt down and kowtowed to Night Sorrow, which left an endless shadow in his heart. You think you can kill me? Don't you know what happened today? Lu Jiangtian, who possessed 5 Thunder Tribulation divine artifacts, had just been defeated by Night Sorrow in public today. This matter had caused an uproar in Hai Bay City. Night Sorrow felt that Wenren Hao should know about this matter. Of course I know that you defeated Lu Jiangtian today, and I was at the scene. Wenren Hao snorted and said disdainfully, do you think I'm Lu Jiangtian, that piece of trash without any guts? With your strength, even if you rely on a divine artifact, you're still not my match. Whether I'm your match or not, we'll only know after we fight. Facing the confident Wenren-hao, Night Sorrow didn't know whether to call him confident or arrogant. Good. Today I'll let you know why you're going to die. Come and see what this is. Wenren-hao, with a ferocious expression, pulled out a sword that was about 1 meter long and glowing with black light from his waist. 6 Thunder Tribulation Divine Artifact. This sword's aura was much stronger than the one Yishang had forged for Lu Jiangtian. He could tell at a glance that this was a divine weapon with 6 lightning tribulation feathers. Moreover, it was a divine weapon with 6 lightning tribulation feathers that perfectly complemented each other. It definitely wasn't like Lu Jiangtian's sword, which looked impressive but was useless. That's right. In order to kill you, I stole this Heartbreak Dark Soul blade from the young master of Mingju. You should be able to die in peace at the hands of a 6 Thunder Tribulation divine artifact. Ha ha ha. Wenren-hao's face was filled with madness. To be able to kill a rare genius like you in High Base City and take away your destiny, Wenren-hao, stop. Stop. Hurry up if you want to kill me. Are you crazy for dilly-dallying over there? The people of the God realm were all freaks. Night Sorrow was speechless as he scolded him. He was secretly thinking of a countermeasure. An upper-level feather god who was close to becoming a high god with a 6 Thunder Tribulation divine artifact was not to be underestimated. No matter what, he was only a lower-level feather god. Next, I'll show you the terror of a 6 Thunder Tribulation divine artifact. Wenren-hao roared crazily as he slashed out with his sword. The black sword light went straight for Night Sorrow's chest. Actually, it wasn't that he was being too long-winded, but that he had to vent his frustration. Oh. This Heartbreak Dark Soul blade is stolen. You can't use its true strength. As soon as Wenren-hao attacked, Night Sorrow judged the situation. He took out the Blood Qilin Evil Slaying Spear and used the Infinite Great Destruction Slash. Boom. As the two collided, Night Sorrow retreated more than 300 meters while Wenren-hao took a few steps back. This is the power of a 6 Thunder Tribulation divine artifact. So what if I haven't mastered it yet? Wenren-hao laughed proudly as he gained the upper hand. Just now, Wenren-hao saw with his own eyes that Night Sorrow defeated Lu Jiangtian with the Blood Qilin Evil Slaying Spear. Now, Night Sorrow used the same move, but he was at a disadvantage. Looks like you do have some skills. No wonder you're so arrogant. Wenren-hao was indeed very strong. His divine power was amazing and he had a big advantage in terms of strength. However, Night Sorrow's body was fine even though he looked like he was in a mess. This was thanks to his body refining realm. If you don't have a backup plan, then your life will definitely end here. After the battle started, Wenren-hao was no longer as talkative as before. He immediately used the same trick as before. He wielded the Heartbreak Dark Soul blade with the 6 Thunder Tribulation divine artifact and slashed out hundreds of sword lights. Hundreds of black sword lights shot out from nowhere. Night Sorrow immediately felt great pressure. He used the Blood Qilin Evil Slaying Spear to block the sword lights. The sword lights that were repelled by the Blood Qilin Evil Slaying Spear flattened the hill below him. Only when I'm suppressed can I comprehend the true meaning of battle in a desperate situation. I can't always rely on the Reincarnation Heavenly Halberd. The Reincarnation Heavenly Halberd was a taboo weapon. If he used it in a battle, it would naturally turn the situation around. However, Night Sorrow felt that if he used it all the time, he would lose the will to fight. Furthermore, Yishang had just arrived in the God Realm, so he felt that he was too unfamiliar with God Realm battles. When he battled with Shang Guanlin and Lu Jiangtian, he had relied on external forces to win. It didn't improve his control over his divine power. Therefore, even though he was suppressed by Wenren-hao, Night Sorrow didn't use his power of virtue or the Reincarnation Heavenly Halberd. He only used the Blood Qilin Evil Slaying Spear to attack, the Thousand Realms defense body and the Void Robe to defend himself, and the Void Steps to move around. Bastard! This brat is really troublesome. Night Sorrow was defeated, but he didn't fall. Wenren-hao gradually became impatient. He realized that he had underestimated his opponent. As the battle progressed, Night Sorrow became more and more experienced. He became more and more difficult to deal with. Moreover, it seemed that his divine power wasn't exhausted at all. Chapter 2387. Bloodthirsty God-killing slash. Wenren didn't want any undue delay. He had made up his mind to kill. Wenren revealed a crazed expression. He directly drew out 80% of his divine power and used the heartbreaking Dark Soul Blade to launch an attack that could change the color of heaven and earth. Styx had taught Wenren this technique to save his life. When he was a middle-level feather god, he had used this technique to kill an upper-level feather god. This was his trump card. The Heartbreak Dark Soul Blade slashed out a dark sword light. The sword light contained a strong destructive attribute. It cut through space and time, directly slashing down on Night Sorrow's head. Not good. This technique is so powerful. If I don't use all my trump cards, I won't be able to take it. An upper-level feather god had used 80% of his divine power to perform this technique. It was so terrifying. Night Sorrow felt a strong sense of danger. He felt that his life was in danger. Under the pressure of life and death, he suddenly had an epiphany and perfected his spear technique. When this spear is used, it is either life or death. Let's call it the life and death reincarnation spear. When one's life was in danger, it would be stupid to train one's battle technique. Night Sorrow didn't hesitate. He used his power of virtue to protect his body and burned all his divine power. He took out the reincarnation heavenly halberd and used the life and death reincarnation spear that he had comprehended at the critical moment. Night Sorrow didn't use the blood Chelan evil slaying spear because it was a bit weaker than the heartbreaking dark soul blade. Boom! The two beams of light collided with each other, and the surrounding void was blasted apart. Countless deep craters were blasted into the ground beneath their feet. I lost. I lost to a low-level feather god. How did he do it? How is this possible? After the collision, Wenren was blasted away for more than 3,000 miles. Countless cracks appeared on his body. He looked terrifying. Night Sorrow was also blasted away for more than 1,000 miles. His body was also severely injured, but it wasn't fatal. Wenren could feel everything clearly. He knew that he couldn't kill Yi Shang even with his strongest attack. Now that he had used up all his god power, he didn't have the strength to fight anymore. He hurriedly swallowed a few god pellets and fled 10,000 li away in a flash. You want to run? Do you think you can escape? Wenren had even taken out his forbidden divine weapon, the reincarnation spear. This was equivalent to exposing one of his trump cards. How could Night Sorrow let Wenren escape? His godly power was also exhausted. He broke his left arm and used the Wuji body forging art to absorb it. Then, he carried the heavenly Samsara halberd and chased after Wenren. The everlasting body tempering art absorbed the body's essence blood and recovered divine power at a much faster rate than elixirs. Soon, Night Sorrow intercepted Wenren above a lake. Stop your pointless resistance. If you want to kill someone, you have to be prepared to be killed. Go to hell. Without any superfluous words, Night Sorrow directly used the Samsara halberd to cut through the void and completely shattered Wenren's body. He grabbed Wenren's spirit, which was about to escape, and also shattered it. Wenren had used his strongest move, but he had still been killed. He hadn't been able to say a single word before he died. He was filled with unwillingness as his soul was destroyed. This battle has caused too much of a commotion. I have to leave quickly. Wenren's body had already been turned into dust. Without a spatial artifact, he only left a chipped heartbreak dark soul blade lying quietly on the ground. Night Sorrow stored the damaged heartbreak dark soul blade in his spatial artifact. He was severely injured, and his godly power was almost completely depleted. He directly used a teleportation crystal to teleport back to the island. 13. What happened to you? Did you encounter a strong enemy? Seeing Night Sorrow return and severely injured, Yang Lei supported him with concern. I went through a battle, but it's nothing serious. Don't worry. How is everyone? Night Sorrow asked with concern. Everyone is doing well. There are already 3 half-step Divine Realm experts, 7 Divine Soul Uniting Realm experts, and a few Tribulation Realm experts. Even the weakest one, my godfather, is already an Imperial Realm expert. In addition, we have given this island a name. It's called Night Moon Island. Sikong Chiyu introduced the cultivation situation of the clansmen and urged, there are still many cultivation resources. Don't worry. Quickly go into seclusion to heal your injuries. The divine world was extremely suitable for cultivation. Night Sorrow had also prepared enough divine gems and other cultivation resources. Almost everyone in the Yi clan, who had suffered consecutive setbacks, was cultivating in the accelerated space. Sikong Chiyu and Yang Lei had also just broken through. They came out to drink tea to stabilize their state of mind and cultivation. Only then did they see Night Sorrow return. Everyone's cultivation progress is actually so fast. Very good. Night Sorrow praised and said, I will go take a look at Grandfather, Misty, and Little Luo. Then I will enter the Clear Sky Pagoda to heal. Grandfather, Misty, Little Luo. I have already found a way to slow down your injuries. As long as I find Senior Long Tianqing's letter in God Monarch Jinyuan's cave abode, I will be able to completely heal you. You will soon recover and cultivate with the rest of us. Night Sorrow had just seen the 3 of them and told them the good news. This matter had been pressing on his heart like a mountain. After saying it, he felt much better. Really? Hearing this, Yi Linghuan, Lin Misty, and Yi Xiaolua's eyes lit up. The divine power that Ling Yun left in their bodies was really too vicious. They suffered inhumane torture every day. However, Lin Misty calmed down very quickly and said with concern, I see that your injuries are serious. You had better go and heal quickly. You have suffered because of our matter. Everything is worth it for the sake of my family. I think that in the near future, we will have a real foundation in the divine world. Yes, definitely. Father, I can't wait. Yi Xiaoluo squeezed out a smile and grimaced in pain. It won't be long. Night Sorrow's injuries were too serious and he had already seen everyone he wanted to see. He didn't say anything more and entered the Clear Sky Pagoda to heal. While Night Sorrow was healing, Mingyi suddenly called all his subordinates to the meeting room. He announced, Wenren Hao's divine soul lamp has extinguished. He is dead. I think he died at the hands of Night Sorrow. Died at the hands of Night Sorrow? How is that possible? He is only a lower-level feather god. Did he have a breakthrough recently? Ming Yi said in disbelief. He was the #1 expert under Mingyi. He was at the peak of the upper-level feather god and could break through to the half-step upper-level divine realm at any time. Wenren Hao lost all his assets in a bet. He was probably unwilling to accept it, so he went to kill Night Sorrow and then killed him. This is the most likely scenario. Qing Mingzi gave his analysis and continued, we have all underestimated Night Sorrow's strength and potential. It seems that not only is his divine soul power outstanding, his battle strength should be comparable to an upper-level feather god. Everyone must be on guard against him in this trip to the Jinyuan Divine Lord's cave residence. Don't worry, military advisor. We will not underestimate any outsider who enters the cave residence, Ming Yi said gloomily. Chapter 2388. Could it be that even Ming Qi was killed by Yishang? A lower feather god killed 2 upper feather gods. Who would believe that? Lin Feng, the only female cultivator present, exclaimed. Ming Qi's god's soul lamp is dimmer than usual, but it's still lit. He should be fine, Mingyi explained. His subordinates' god's soul lamps were all under his control. My lord, Night Sorrow killed Wenren Hao. How should we deal with him? Are we just going to leave him be? Ming Yi asked in a low voice. Of course we won't let this go. I will kill anyone who dares to kill Mingyi. But he's still useful for the trip to the cave. When we come out of the cave, I'll kill him myself. Mingyi's eyes were cold. My lord. We haven't found out the truth yet. Isn't it inappropriate to jump to conclusions? Ming Qingzi advised. He felt that Night Sorrow was lucky and shouldn't be offended. It doesn't matter. He's just an ant. It's okay to kill him by mistake. Mingyi waved his hand. You can all leave. After all his subordinates left the hall, Mingyi smiled and said, You, come out. You, greets father. A valiant female cultivator in black walked into the hall. How does it feel to be half a step into the upper god realm? Mingyi looked at his daughter lovingly. I feel like I can kill any feather god realm cultivator instantly. My power is different from when I was in the feather god realm, Mingyu replied. She smiled and said, I'm the first one this time. How do you want to reward me, father? This time, I'll reward you with a divine weapon with 9 thunder feathers. Keep it for the trip to the cave. Mingyi threw his daughter a pouch-shaped spatial artifact. The value of a divine weapon with 9 thunder feathers is immeasurable. Looks like there won't be any accidents in the trip to God Jinyuan's cave. Mingyu said excitedly. There weren't many divine weapons with 9 thunder feathers in High Bay City. With this one, she could use it until she reached the upper god realm. As long as you like it. When we go to the cave, you and Mingyi will each lead a team. But remember, you can compete with each other, but you and your sister can't kill each other for anything. Mingju and Mingyu had the same father but different mothers. There was a deep conflict between their mothers. Understood, father. I'll show mercy. Mingyu said and walked out of the hall. Then she muttered, 4 alchemists and 4 array masters. Only 2 of them are father's subordinates. I don't know how powerful the others are. If I choose the wrong person, I won't be able to compete with the nether art. I'll reach the half-step high celestial realm before him and come out of seclusion first. Why don't I check on the remaining 6? Night Sorrow, who knew nothing about this, was currently recuperating in the Clear Sky Pagoda. While he was recuperating, he pondered over the life and death reincarnation spear that he had just comprehended. He felt that even though this move was extremely powerful, it consumed too much energy. He pondered how he could improve it so that he could use it in more battles. Looks like I can only explore slowly. During the battle with Wenren Hao, Night Sorrow had familiarized himself with all the fighting techniques he had learned before. After comparing them, he felt that the realm of the gods was indeed a higher realm. The various secret arts were indeed powerful. He did not have the upper hand in the cave, so he had to think of ways to improve his strength. I'm afraid it's unrealistic to improve my cultivation in 2 years. The fastest way to improve my strength is to earn more materials for refining elixirs and weapons. I need to refine more elixirs that can recover my divine power and heal my injuries. I also need a large number of one-time use weapons that can protect me. In addition, I need to buy suitable defensive skills and movement skills. Movement skills, defensive skills, and secret arts were all better in the realm of the gods. Night Sorrow had made up his mind to start from these aspects. After recovering from his injuries, Night Sorrow put Yi Linghuan, Lin Piaomiao, and Yi Xiaoluo into the Clear Sky Pagoda and rushed back to Nanhuai Alley as quickly as possible. After breaking Long Tianqing's array, Night Sorrow brought his 3 family members to see Long Tianqing. He said, Senior, these 3 are my family members. I hope you can help me. Yi Shan will definitely do his best to fulfill Senior's orders. Alright, let me take a look. Long Tianqing didn't look old. She looked like she was in her 20s. However, she gave people a feeling of vicissitudes. She responded and checked on Lin Piaomiao's condition. After a while, she sighed and said, the other party purposely left some divine yuan qi to torture them. Otherwise, it wouldn't have ended up like this. Senior, can you think of a solution? Night Sorrow asked with concern. The 3 people in front of him were his family members. I can use my divine yuan qi to help them resist the divine yuan qi in their bodies. However, this is not a long-term solution. It can only last for 100 years. Within 100 years, they must be completely cured. Otherwise, the three of them will not be able to be saved. Long Tianqing explained softly. 100 years? That's good. It's better than 30 years. Thank you, Senior. Night Sorrow cupped his hands and said respectfully. She had indeed helped him a lot. After you retrieve the letter from the cave, I will tell you the method to completely cure the three of them. Before that, your three loved ones will stay with me, Long Tianqing said without any hesitation. That's good too. Thank you, Senior. This was the only solution so far. Night Sorrow did not say much. After chatting with Yi Linghuan, Lin Piaomiao and Yi Xiaoluo for a while, he left Long Tianqing's residence. Before Night Sorrow left Night Moon Island, he left most of the divine gems, resources and weapons he did not need to his family members. He only left the Clear Sky Pagoda, Void Magic Robe, Blood Kirin Evil Slaying Spear and Samsara Halberd. He was poor. After temporarily resolving the crisis of his family members, he returned to the market and madly refined weapons for a year. He exchanged all the materials he earned for divine gems and appeared in High Bay City with 140,000 divine gems. His purpose was naturally to prepare to buy some defensive skills, movement skills, or unique skills. Jubao Pavilion. I hope this place will give me some surprises. Jubao Pavilion was recommended to Night Sorrow by Xian Jizi. It was one of the top 10 shops in High Bay City. The area it occupied was even bigger than Night Sorrow's residence. Jubao Pavilion welcomes Sir. Sir, are you here to buy or pawn? Night Sorrow's figure had just appeared outside Jubao Pavilion when a young and beautiful female practitioner came forward and asked politely. So you can pawn things here. What items can you pawn? Hearing this, Night Sorrow secretly thought that if he had known, he would have brought the 6th Thunder Tribulation Feather Divine Weapon and the heartbreaking Dark Soul Blade. He could probably exchange it for a lot of divine gems. Sir, our Jubao Pavilion has the ability to take any item. As long as it's valuable, we will take it. The female practitioner said softly with a trace of pride in her voice. Well, very good. Chapter 2389. Night Sorrow, who was following behind the female cultivator, couldn't help but admire the wealth of the Jubao Pavilion. My lord, we're here. Please go ahead. The female cultivator flew to the front of a pavilion and gracefully floated down. She then turned around and gestured for him to enter. What's your name? Night Sorrow asked as they walked into the pavilion. He didn't know her name and it wasn't convenient to talk. My lord, I don't have a name. My code name in the Jubao Pavilion is 73. The female cultivator bowed her head slightly. There was a hint of disappointment in her eyes, but she concealed it well. Okay, I got it. 73. A beautiful female cultivator who was half a step away from the immortal realm didn't have a name. Night Sorrow felt a little awkward to be called 73, but he didn't comment on it because they had arrived at the area they were supposed to be at. Lord Longjio, the customer is here. Please take care of him. After entering the pavilion, 73 arranged a seat for Night Sorrow and went inside to invite the person in charge of the pavilion. The person in charge of every pavilion in the Jubao Pavilion was a cultivator of the Divine Feather Realm. They had a lot of power and their status was second only to the pavilion master and 2 deputy pavilion masters. Yo! Isn't this 73? I haven't seen you in a while. You've become more beautiful. The male cultivator called Lord Longjio was a male cultivator with a protruding mouth and monkey cheeks. He wore a silk robe similar to that of a shopkeeper. When he saw 73, he teased her. There was a greedy light in his eyes, which made him look aggressive. Lord Longjio, please follow me to receive the customer. 73 knew that Longjio wasn't a kind person. She was slightly afraid and quickly reminded him. She didn't want to have too much contact with him. What's the hurry? Isn't he just a trash of a divine feather realm? In my eyes, he's just a worm. Let's do something more interesting. If he wants to buy something, just wait. Longjio smirked and reached out to touch 73's cheek. Lord Longjio, please respect yourself. It's not the style of the Jubao Pavilion to make the customer wait. If the pavilion master finds out. 73's body trembled as he dodged the attack. Ha ha ha, the pavilion lord is in seclusion trying to break through to the high god stage. Right now, my brother-in-law is in charge of the Jubao Pavilion. I, Lord Jiu, like your unique and reserved nature. You don't smell the same as the others. If you know what's good for you, then let Lord Jiu have a good time today. But even if you don't know what's good for you, you can't escape from your Lord Jiu's palm. TSK, this little face, this chest. Longjio's eyes were filled with lust as he smiled wretchedly. At the same time, he released his god-level pressure. He was a middle-level feather god. How could 73 resist him? 73's face was filled with shock and anger. He wanted to escape but he couldn't. Ninth Master. Although 73 was hired by Jubao Pavilion, I didn't sell myself to Jubao Pavilion. Please conduct yourself with dignity, Lord Jiu. 73 realized that he couldn't move. He was so scared that his face was covered in tears as he hurriedly begged for mercy. She was once the eldest daughter of a cultivator clan. Later, her clan was exterminated and she was forced to wander to Haibei City. In order to make a living, she came to this treasure-gathering pavilion to work as a receptionist. As the former jewel of the family, although 73's cultivation wasn't very high, she had a clean and honest heart. What? You're just a lowly servant. You let me, Lord Jiu, pamper you, and you're still unwilling. You want to refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit? I'll see if you have the guts today. Hearing 73's begging for mercy, Longjio, who had toyed with several female cultivators to death, immediately changed his expression and said, I'll let you go next. Obediently play the flute for me. Otherwise, you can imagine the consequences. After saying this, Longjio withdrew his god-level pressure. 73 didn't hesitate and directly pulled out his sword to commit suicide. Longjio sneered, want to die? How can it be so easy? I think you're refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. He released his pressure again and controlled 73. He took off his belt with a lewd smile and said, Lord Jiu, have been guarding these lousy books that no one wants all year round. I'm bored to death. You finally came once in a blue moon, how can I let you go? As soon as the belt was loosened, 73's maid robe was immediately opened, revealing the white undergarment inside. Hiss. You're really the best. I, Lord Jiu, have good luck today. TSK. Looking at the slender waist, Longjio couldn't help but swallow his saliva. 73, who was powerless to resist, closed his eyes in humiliation and despair. But at this moment, a reprimand suddenly sounded, you, a middle-level feather god, bullied a half-step divine realm female cultivator, aren't you too shameless? It's that customer's voice. 73 recognized the voice of Night Sorrow. Thinking of Longjio's words just now, he felt that with Night Sorrow's strength as a low-level feather god, it would be difficult to deal with Longjio's matter in Jubao Pavilion. Because although Longjio's character was not good and was the nightmare of all the female cultivators in Jubao Pavilion, he had a very strong background. His brother-in-law was one of the deputy pavilion masters of Jubao Pavilion, Red Swallow Mountain. He was one of the 3 most powerful people in Jubao Pavilion. Customer, leave quickly. 73 kindly reminded. If you know what's good for you, leave quickly. Otherwise, I, Lord Jiu, will kill you. Longjio, who had turned into a hungry pervert, waved impatiently at Night Sorrow. In front of a beauty, he did not have any other thoughts. Know what's good for you, a middle-level feather god, is that all you have? You are worse than a beast. If it was an ordinary cultivator, he would not dare to meddle in the affairs of Jubao Pavilion, but in the face of such a situation, Night Sorrow did not tolerate it at all and directly kicked the room where Longjio was about to act violently. Bastard! You, a low-level feather god, dare to meddle in my affairs? Go to hell. Long Joe's divine essence condensed and gathered in his palm, and fiercely slapped Night Sorrow. After all, they were in the pavilion, and he did not want to make too much noise. Otherwise, even if he had the support of the deputy pavilion master, it would be too embarrassing to attack a customer.